Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
Time that America refused to give the Negro any land. Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
The moderator, nor Reverend Robinson, that we want some kind of agreement. We want agreement by which we can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. It's because you consider me a vagabond leader that I'm not to speak here. Well, you had better cut those neckties off of them black boys that you put in our districts, because they don't know what's happening. And I'm from the pits of nigger hell, and I know what's happening. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. Should you try to pretend that I'm crazy because I want America to be saved? Riots that goes on in this country, in any city. The city is better than Pittsburgh. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying?
2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it.
Hey, John, what do you want us to take away from this extraordinary series of yours?
Well, I want people who are not Latin to have Latin envy and wish they had been born Latin, and for Latin people to realize, damn, being Latin is a superpower, man. I mean, the things that we've suffered in this country, 500 years, our wealth was stolen from us. We were lynched. We were burned, shot alive. We've been the only American citizens that have ever been deported by the millions, and yet we contribute and we build and we thrive.
look at that train packed with migrants heading towards our southern border. It will stop in a Mexican city right across from Eagle Pass, Texas.
Local people, but this is obviously not helping whatsoever. As for the federal government, we get nothing. Alexander Mayorkas, he should be doing something about this. He should be stopping the people crossing the border, but he's not doing his job. Governor Newsom is doing nothing to help the problem, just a lot of rhetoric and happy talk about how things are going to be great. But and we're also being gaslit significantly. What I mean by gaslighting is they're telling you there's no problem. There's no problem with the border. Everything's under control, where our own eyes can tell.
Somebody's got to stand up and say, no, that's wrong. Immigrants are the lifeblood of this country. Immigrants helped build this country. Immigrants are humans, just like you and me. And by the way,
various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience. Yes. What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children, and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks, at least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks. We done to the immigrants. We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country. Democrats are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
Doing a great job in the heart these days.
You're late again, Eddie.
Trying to do. You ain't gonna do it. See, Big Red done pulled my coattail to you a long, long time ago.
That's bullshit, Eddie. You talking crazy.
Crazy like a mother fox. And you, I can see through your jive ass like glass, nigga.
Eddie, you got it all wrong, man.
Stealing my moves. My style. Nigga, even trying to riff like me.
Hey, man, why don't you get your boy out of here and detox him?
You on my spot, Flash? Slum dwelling, scum sucking, slug ass motherfucker. You on my spot, Flash? Huh? Well, you ain't gonna get it, cause you ain't got it.
To me, if you have been here for 5 years and you do not have a criminal record, you will be able to go on the dignity status for 7 years.
That status is like a probation period.
You will not be deported. You will not lose your assets. You can work anywhere in the country. You will pay taxes.
And there would be an additional tax.
A new levy of 1.5 withholding, called the dignity levy, will be held from your paycheck. You will not have access to any government program and will have to buy your own health insurance.
And another charge.
You will pay $700 a year for 7 years, and that adds up to around $5,000. Those $5,000 will represent around $45 billion.
This is provided that the undocumented immigrants total 10 million, but there are more.
And that fund will go to pay for border security. The other bucket of money, the 1.5, will go to re-educate or retrain any American who believes that he or she has lost his opportunity, his job opportunity, to an undocumented.
Some of the other legislators who support the bill said they are aware that it is not perfect. They said it's better than doing nothing.
We are the only people in America that was enslaved in America. We are not immigrants. We're not migrants. We belong. Listen! We are the only people enslaved in America. We didn't come over waiting and looking for something. And when we came over, we did work. but it was free labor that built this country. Black labor.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. And not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I say by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press to rewrite history or retell history, and since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's truth.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to We Up Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to the fam in the house. Aboriginal, seen your message. What's good to you, brother? Glad to see you here on this national holiday called Martin Luther King's Day. If you happen to be new, just subscribe. Welcome to the Most Hated Show. Passerbys, welcome again. Go down the aisle, happen to see something that makes you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. What you gonna talk about tonight, Mr. Blow Your Mind? What some of y'all might have clicked on due to the fact that you've seen the thumbnail. Some of you might have been for the simple fact that you read the description, and also for the fact that you just seen title of the show. So what we're going to talk about tonight, let me show you something here, y'all. Magical Surrogate season coming. Let me say that one more again. Magical Surrogate season coming. Well, you might be like, well, what do you mean by surrogate? Well, let me go ahead. We're gonna break this down tonight, because see, being what it is, being the holiday, being on the personage who is attached to those of us who are tied to the lineage of, some will say, indigenous American, Aboriginal Americans, Black Americans, so on and so forth. You come out of those of the southeastern part that we call down south. Martin Luther King in itself was one who fought. Again, it's kind of funny that the people who seem to be more tied into what happened to him have celebrated him, made a holiday for him. And there's a lot of things that is happening all combined in one. So what I want to show you, for those who may not know, again, from the last show that I did, I want to show you the connection. Show you that maybe sometimes people think you're pulling rabbits out your hat. Maybe the fact that maybe I see something you don't see. So a surrogate is one that takes the place of another, right? They also say a person. They even say an animal. Now, wait a minute, you a person or animal, right? That function as a substitute for another in a social or family role. You also have surrogate mothers. In law, they say that having jurisdiction over the probate will and settlements of a state. But in this case, I also use the word magic. or magico. You ever heard the term magical Negro? Well, they can say that this magical Negro is a stereotype that serves as a plot to help the white protagonists get out of trouble. Let me say that one more again. The magical Negro is a stereotype that serves a plot device to help the white protagonists get out of trouble. But what does the word protagonist mean, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, it's a main character when you talk about a work or a fiction, as in a play or a film or novel. Okay? So the leading or principal figure, leader of a cause, a champion. So what we're going to see here is that there's this season that's going to be falling upon all of us. And again, me being the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube, I can't get 100 views, no matter, ever since I did the video April 1st, 2014, Extinction of the White Race. We're not talking about killing nobody, none of that. It was just the fact that it was showing that the extinction would come. It's been 10 years later, and they done suppressed me to the fact that now what I'm sitting here talking about is can't get no views. So it is incumbent that those of you who are sitting here watch, at least hit the like button. Let's see if we can push it out somehow, fight the system. But if not, that's okay. Take it for what you want. Now, the thing is, what I spoke about last time about what we've seen, the viral of virals right now of the black corner. And then I tried to show you that there was a correlation between one person who was part of the club actually went out and said something, and then you've seen the backlash with him, but then he's come back. Maybe you didn't see it, but we know tonight we're going to show that because that's what we do over here, right? Now, the Surrogate season, many of us that are content creators, and a lot of, if you've been noticing, haven't y'all noticed you've been seeing a lot of celebrities, entertainers, people falling out the woodwork all of a sudden, and they can get numbers. Let me say that one more again. I don't know if you know, but I know I've been noticing it, that there's been a big inundation on social media that they went into their talent pool and they finna inundate us because why? We now say they in the, well, say primary season, right? And somebody's in trouble, but then that person can't even come talk to the group that's supposed to be the foundation base, because for 3 years, going on 4 years, you done ignored and did everything else. So you can't really come to them. You can't campaign to them. So what you're about to see, like you see on there, all kinds of different types of people, they finna inundate us to make us to submit, because there's languages that they're saying when they're talking. You're going to find out what I'm talking about as we go on. Now, to show you as we're going to start off in this, when I'm talking about this surrogate season, let me show you there was some, according to them, what they say. They claim there was a, as you see, Biden holding private meeting at White House to reassure supporters. Let me say that one more again. Biden holding private meetings at White House to reassure supporters. Okay. Now check this out. Let me show you something here, right? So, accordingly, they held a private meeting at the White House. A lot of the top donors and other supporters, as an effort, they just say to reassure them about the re-election campaign. They said people are concerned about his age and energy, and said about roughly half dozen at this meeting, about 4 to 8 people. So again, he launched his campaign in April. April when? Last year? Okay, but anyway, and just before the holiday, and the condition of anonymity discussed private conversation. So they don't want nobody to really know they had this. Some of you don't know, some of y'all don't see, But that's what we report. That's what we do over here. That's why we the most hated show in the Black Corner in there, because we talk about things of some importance for those who may just understand this, right? So check this out. Check this out. All right. So they said they were there to set the agenda and how to take on former President Donald Trump. Now, they said the things that's on the table are going to be about Israel, Gaza, the abortion rights, and check this out. Let me show you something. See, they said that there's a movie mogul who is the national co-chair of the Biden's campaign. He's a longtime Democrat fundraiser, and he's the one who's organizing the meeting. You might be like, well, who was that, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Look at your screen. Let me show you something on that screen, right? What y'all see on your screen there, right? Right? See, they say Jeffrey Katzenberg, right? You see, right? You can kind of seeing this stuff there. He was a chairman of Walt Disney, 1984, right? Overseeing productions and business, operating from the company feature films, right? So this individual here is tied with whom? Tied with whom? Right? All right. Keep that in mind now. Keep all that in mind. Okay? So they said there's a lot of doubt in the party, and they said they're seeing a lot of it being reflected in many of the recent polls. Now, they try to talk to some of the people of the campaign. Nobody declined. Nobody wanted to talk to them. And so they said that these meetings have turned into feedback sessions to give to Biden. There was individuals who invited at meeting, and not just top donors. There was, they say, a mix of people Biden had known for years, and those who had become supporters. And they said those events were more scripted. Okay, huh? More scripted. Okay. Now, again, they want to reassure supporters about Biden's energy and commitment. It has been dispelled of anybody who has doubts about his determination, his energy and passion. So they want to make sure that they reassure that this is the man you support and you give him your contributions and so forth, right? He's the man. Let's stick to the game plan, right? So the open the floor attendees, they were able to ask questions of what was on their mind, and it was showing donors that Biden still had the commands of the issues and a way of giving president feedbacks, and it gives him some seasoning, they said, and it gives him energy and so forth, right? So now the thing is here, now I done told you in the last show or so, like sometimes you be watching, they had that, what they call it, I think in American, it's called ASL, which is the American Sign Language, where the person be in the caption in the corner doing the sign language talking. You don't understand that because you don't know sign language, but they talking anyway. That's what you kind of seeing, or what you about to be overbearing with as you keep watching. You finna get inundated. They coming for it. You know what I'm saying? They coming, and I'm gonna show what I'm talking about. Just stay tuned, right? Go back. Let's go give you that picture back. Go back, get that picture up there, right? So check this out now, right? So again, they say even Biden is expressing frustration because of the low poll numbers, right? He's complaining that about them. Accordingly, they say, allegedly, they say in these private conversations, and he's even grumbled, murmured about voters' disapproval, right? Voters' disapproval, handling the economy, strong economic indicators is what they said, right? Now, when we talk about the Democratic Party, they told us last time that who saved the party was a specific group. But then, as you heard in the beginning of my rendition of my start of my show, Mug told you, you're going to have to learn to deal with these other folks. But yet, you got in based on your support for those of you who did voted for it, right? So now, after 4 years done passed, how can I come back to you? Hey, somebody who the old story was, somebody left to go to the store to get some milk and never come back home. Now they gonna come back 4 years later from the store they left when they left 4 years later, what they gonna say to you when they walk in the door? Matter of fact, the door, probably the locks don't even match the key no more. So what you gonna say for me? Allow you to get even have conversations with me, to get inside to even have a seat. I might be done with you, and I think they kind of know this, right? So let me show y'all something here, right? Because you remember last week we was just on that whole thing when it was dealing with the the Shannon Sharpe, Cat Williams, I guess you say number 2 all time live video, right? And I told you that there was something that had happened, and I showed you, because remember, I think I kind of showed y'all the date that when he did this, and I think I took the other one out, right? As you see on your screen there, you see January 3rd, the same day that you will see that the Shannon Sharpe and Cat Williams video came out on the 3rd, the same day. And you see that was his numbers at that day, but you look at what it says on there, that Charlamagne the God has regrets endorsing Biden in 2020, right? Now, in his own way, he is, again, I told you, he is observed, or it is looked upon like he has maybe the outreach to the youth because it's hip hop compared to some of the older ones who are in there that they really don't have that reach, but it is assumed because he said he has about 8 million and so forth. So, but when he came out and he said that, that was damaging already, as you heard about them having those conversations. And so a lot of people, again, were scrambling. And so I'm going to say like this, I made assumption, a possibility of allegedly that there was a catapulting, and the reason why it's not, again, as I say, that Shannon Sharpe can't get numbers. I'm not saying that Cat Williams isn't popular enough to draw that. But I've been doing this a long time, so I understand how this go, even though that I'm down here for 12 years. And on the 12th year, I can't get 100 views after it used to could get 300. Viral at one time was only about 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, right? I had already attained all that. Then based on the video, and again, they start saying, well, YouTube, whatever that round table says, and they took that away, suppressed me and so forth. Okay, so I've watched a lot of people come in after me, and I've seen a whole lot of things. So I kind of know, once you get about 10 years, you become an expert in some things, right? So I kind of seen it. So I knew it was a little bit unusual for somebody, and that I think it was averaging like 8 million a day. Again, we are the corner that the builders reject. We're the corner that the builders reject. And so when somebody gets that and allowed to have that reach, I understand the celebrityism of both of them, but then it also depends on what you're talking about, right? Cat movies and all that, stuff that some people, again, fighting and stuff like that and talk about. Yeah, but it never gets to that level. And it's ironic that this happens. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, right? So, again, he went on there on CBS. Now, think about this. CBS is national news. That's not like internet news. That's national. So that got pushed out there and could be in a way that wouldn't be controlled, but you could see that his numbers did get suppressed. Now, let me show you, based on if you think the insignificant, and again, I'm not telling you that Charlamagne the God is some magnanimous host star and that got that kind of couple. Again, remember, they came to him last in 2020, and originally it was Kamala Harris. Then it became Joe Biden, and that's what we heard. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Remember that? Let me say that one more again. Remember that whole thing? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. It wasn't that in that interview over there, right? So let's look at if what I said, this now ain't what they trying to. I'm not even saying it's the fact that got out like that, and the fact that polls and so forth, they went out and they asked people who they gonna vote for. I want you to see this. Be right back. Let's see. Yeah, we ready to do that? Yeah, let's go ahead. We ready to do that. Check this out. You got that? You got that set? Hold on. Yeah. All right. Let's get it right the first time. All right, let's do this. We'll be right back.
Electric scooters in the projects here in New York. Johnny visited one in Brownsville, Brooklyn to see if people are stoked.
Joe Biden's giving this neighborhood $25 million.
Oh, $25 million.
Wow, what the hell? Are you serious? Right.
USA, USA. What do you think it should be spent on?
The schools, the parks.
The illegal immigration problem, fresh fruits, vegetables.
This is life. That elevator over there, broken. These houses, dirty.
Recreation for the kids to get out the street.
Well, sorry. He's spending it all, so you scooter.
Get the out of here, Joe.
I don't like that. That's ghetto.
What's...
He's spending on charges? Man, they need to charge his brain.
They had to take the top of my head off a couple times, see if I had a brain.
Do you own an electric scooter?
No, and I don't want it.
Scooter's not keeping me warm. Scooter is barely taking me places.
Scooter? I need some money.
That's above my pay grade.
Joe Biden says once he installs these chargers for electric scooters, there will be less racism.
How does that equal less racism?
Come on, you're kidding me. There's no racism here.
There's actually more racist that he's doing this because it's really not helping the community.
I don't see the correlation. But I also don't see the correlation between Joe Biden and being president. I don't know who put that motherfucker in office, but it wasn't me.
So you don't like him?
Yeah. What would you rather? Cheaper gas or electric scooter chargers?
Cheaper gas.
Why wouldn't we want cheaper gas? Like, how would the scooters benefit? We don't deliver.
You can't really have cheaper gas because they're trying to get more money out of you to build electric cars.
Cheaper gas, definitely, because my man drives.
How's Joe Biden doing?
He's too old. Sorry. But everybody elected him, so that's y'all fault. He's sitting there lying to people.
He's the worst president that we ever had.
Joe Biden, please go back to Delaware because New York City, you have no idea what we need.
He's a slimy mother. You know? He take you out to lunch and stick the fork up your ass right after.
Who do you want to win the 2024 election, Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
Donald Trump. I want Donald Trump. Trump.
That happens to be me, in case you forget.
When he was in, it was no crime. Crime was down.
Uncle Donald. No cap. That's a nice guy.
Trump is straight up and down, like 6 o'clock. At least I know what I get when it comes to him.
I was more comfortable with Donald Trump in office.
I'm not voting for Joe Biden.
And you ain't black.
Trump, that's right, I said it. That's right, I said it.
What do you like about Donald Trump?
He don't bull. He don't care. Like, I like that. Trump was giving back people money. I ain't gonna front, he almost started a war with Kim Jong-un, too, before he died.
Kim Jong-un is alive, by the way.
He's alive. Also, he faked the oven.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You're going to be on Jesse Waters Primetime. What do you want to tell Jesse?
Tune in to Jesse Primetime. Good job. You got these guys in the hood making me famous.
Let's get rid of Joe Biden.
Electric scooters in the projects here in New York.
All right. So that was that video I had seen on this Jesse Waters. Right now, again, I'm not advocating anything here. Again, I want to just kind of show you again what tonight's show is going to be about. Magical Surrogate season coming, and the Magical Surrogates is the talent pool that they're going to pull from to get out here to get, again, the opinion swayed. Okay, which how strong they're going to go at it, right? So according to the way they set this whole dynamic up, it was about $25 million based on, they said that, well, Joe Biden is about to give to their community or their city. And you see the reactions of them, right? And that's what they want. They want the propaganda. The reason I'm saying this, some of you might get in a position, somebody might be asking you. A lot of us, we understand we not, care too much about one way or another, but just understand. Remember, you heard this. We're going to get inundated with so much of this. A lot of your regular, again, content creators, the number's going to look ridiculously low. I seen people I ain't never seen on here. Matter of fact, was it Jody Watley? Did anybody see that? That all of a sudden Jody Watley came on, ain't had a page, got on here, and all of a sudden she can get 120, 150,000 views. Again, I'm not taking nothing away from Jody Watley. Jody Watley was a singer. A lot of us grew up and we heard her song and the music, but I'm not saying that whether she has the popularity today to garner that, but it was kind of funny. It was like in the first hour about 40,000, and about a half hour of that it went to 60, then went 120. I was like, wow, wait a minute. So it's open season for them. But I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So you see, they're talking to young adults, and they're giving their opinion. Then when they tell them that, you know, the 25 million, because you see, they were saying, some of them were saying, well, we can use some better recreational centers, things for students, things with health when it comes to food, right? There's a lot of variation of different things being said that money could be used for. And then when we say, well, you know, really it's for a scooter charging system. Scooter charging. Right, see, putting stuff in there that's not tangible, just, you know, it's for the community of everybody, but it's nothing that you can, you know, tangible you can use personally, right? So now what they do is they ask the question, who are you going to vote for? Now, according to what you see in here, if they use this and what they're saying, it's appearing that they look like they for Trump. It can be used for propaganda, spreading, look, black folks is for Trump, right? Now, again, I just want to show y'all something here, right? So let's look at the second part of this and this last part of this, and let me show you. Now they're going to go over to I think they're going over to the Bronx. Check this out. Be right back. This was even shorter.
This is the bluest of New York City's boroughs, and the only borough with the Hispanic majority. President Biden got 83% of the vote here in 2020. But now the Biden campaign is seeing polls coming out saying President Trump is gaining traction with voters of color, even younger voters. So I came to the Bronx to put a face on the numbers, and I was shocked by what I heard on the streets. Do you think that President Biden is doing a good job with the economy?
No, he's not doing nothing to support nobody.
Is he doing a good job? Yes or no?
No. I can see we're all going to be in the streets homeless.
Biden and his press secretary said that prices are going down. Is that your experience or is that not true?
No, that is definitely not true. Prices are definitely going up. I used to go across the street to Fordham to go get me a meal. I can't even get me a meal because that meant $20.
Minority communities, we're not seeing the improvement. There's inflation with everything, food, gas, insurance prices. I mean, you name it.
Bidenomics is not working. It's just a complete mess. It's a disaster. Especially here in New York City, we're feeling it very hard.
If you could say anything to Biden right now, who says that the economy is improving, especially in black and brown communities, what would you say to him?
That's lies. I believe that's lies. Heavy lies on that, for sure.
Do you think that somebody else besides Biden should be president?
Yes,
next time?
Of course. Bring back Trump.
Tell me why.
We had money. We had money when Trump was president.
Free my son Trump. Free my son Trump. Trump 2024, everybody. Trump 2024.
That's crazy. And we're here in the Bronx.
I'm gonna vote for Trump if he runs because I feel like it was much better when he was here financially for everybody. Not just me, for everybody.
I'm definitely voting for Donald Trump. He made sure we had money in our pockets. He was for the people. He made sure we had what we needed. I feel like everything will go back to how it was. I mean, ever since he's been out of office, everything's declined.
When Trump was president, my life was good. Economical-wise, I was doing so much better.
They're saying it's going to be Biden-Trump, so who will you vote for?
Oh, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna have to go for Trump. Sorry.
I'm gonna go for Trump. Trump. Always Trump.
Here, let me see. Who are you voting for?
Trump.
Feeling the pain of price hikes is one thing, but the show of open support for former President Donald J. Trump on the streets of the Bronx was very surprising. And it's the sort of thing that has Biden campaign strategists looking very carefully at the messaging around Bidenomics as we get closer to 2024. Reporting for Newsmax from the streets of the Bronx, New York, I'm Kara Castronova. The bluest.
All right, so we are back, right? So that was those in the Bronx, where they said in 2022, they said 83% of the Bronx held in favor for Biden. right? So they're out there asking young people today for the 24 season. And you're hearing those that are voicing their opinion, right? You even heard one say that based on the way that this administration has been operating, people going to be homeless, right? People going to be homeless out here, right? Prices is going up, right? Everything is high. Talking about gas. They don't see no improvements. So again, is the Republican using this, right? Again, it could be propaganda. Again, I'm not saying that these people who are saying what they're saying is not saying what they're saying, true for their heart and what they would do. So, but is given the viewers and people who might be on the fence to think twice. So, if that be the case, and people are out here and it's kind of split, or more people seem to be one way than the other, at least just by taking it as like the polls do, then of course he would be in trouble. So what would they do? Now, let me show you, going back a little bit, what they was talking about with Charlemagne, just in case you didn't see last week's show. Let me give you that, and then we're gonna move forward because I'm gonna show you. Listen what he says. This was last week what he said. Then I'm gonna take you what he just said afterwards, and we're gonna see if did they give him a call. Check this out. Be right back.
Community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
Welcome back to America Decides. More than 3 years after his victory speech, President Biden faces what appears to be, at least to the polls, waning support among black voters in our country. This, as an influential radio host named Charlemagne the God says he regrets backing Biden in 2020. He told Politico, quote, "It's almost like Democrats are doing this purity test. America's not pure. The people of America are not pure. We're flawed. I'm not looking for my politicians to be pure. I'm looking for my politicians to be effective." National political reporter for Politico, Braxton Booker, who wrote that piece on Charlemagne the God, joins us now. Braxton, it's great to see you. Fantastic piece.
Thank you.
Let's dig into this. According to a Gen Forward survey, which you also wrote about in a separate piece for Politico, 17% of black Americans support former President Trump. 20% said they're not for Biden or Trump. Let's do the quick math. 37% not in the Biden coalition. That's a big number.
It's a big number. And
does Charlemagne the God reflect that?
I think he does. I think he does. Look, he expressly voted for and supported President Biden during the 2020 election, and he clearly is saying he does not have the support of Charlemagne the God this time around. And he says that Biden has not been an effective messenger, and he feels that Biden has not kept some of his promises that he made on the campaign trail, and certainly he's not appeared on his radio show since the 2020 election. I think that has something to do with it, too.
Is it worth saying that he's not just any radio host?
Oh, I think it's fair to say that. He's more of a mogul. I mean, he has not just the Breakfast Club, which has roughly 8 million monthly listeners, according to him.
8 million monthly listeners.
He also has podcasts. He's an author. He has several businesses. He has another podcast that's been going on for about 10 years called Brilliant Idiots that does other things that are in the pop culture realm. So he touches a lot of different industries, including obviously the music industry. So he has a lot of influence across multiple.
He's a mega influencer.
Absolutely.
And in the political sphere, a not insignificant one that any White House, but particularly this one, has to pay attention to.
Well, look, I think for a White House that is, as we had discussed, it seems to be waning support among black voters. It would seem that you would go to this platform to have a conversation with these voters that seem to be peeling off, or at least don't seem interested in what Biden is selling, to go sell your message, right? But the administration, when you're talking to folks who are on the campaign, they say they do not need Charlemagne. They have enough in the repertoire. They're going to South Carolina next week to Mother Emanuel Church, a historical black church down there. They say they can engage voters on their own, and they don't need Charlemagne's platform in order to engage voters. And we'll see which method plays out here.
All right, so there you go. There, here and there. That was that CBS first part of that. As you heard in there, they're talking about again waning young support, right? So there's an age bracket that they seem to not have, where they want to not. Well, I guess you could say they want the poll numbers to reflect that. They're hearing these things. Republican channels that are pundits and stuff are using it to propagandize and say, "Hey, don't look like they for you," right? Okay. As you heard here, this Braxton Booker, they said that in this conversation, about 37%, according to the way they split those numbers up, and said that they're not in favor of Biden. Charlamagne said, does Charlamagne the God reflect that? They said, well, now, again, I would say allegedly, but he is going to already validate the fact that it's not something allegedly being said, because Braxton Booker supposedly did the article, supposedly had said what he said, but then he's going to come back and he's going to validate everything what we just heard here when I show you this next conversation that he's going to have, because now he's come back from last week, and I want you to hear what he says, right? Again, he has, according to what he says, he has 8 million monthly listeners, okay? You know what it takes for me to get 8 million and 100 per week? I'll be probably dead by then, right? But the point is, he has that. So the perception is he might be reaching a certain demographics that could be valuable for people who think that you might. So when he makes a statement like that, and again, he was the avenue that they use, that whatever they believe that helped them to win, he might have been part of it, whether they know or don't know. But now they come back and telling them, well, we don't really need you, right? So I was wondering, the day he did this, when they put this interview out, you seen it said the 3rd, and the same day on the 3rd, we seen the Shannon Sharp, Cat Williams video, and it did astronomically, right? Now, let me show you what he said since then. Now, check this out. Now, listen what he says now.
In life. That I've learned. Mm-hmm. Other people can. Other people can be indicted a bunch of times and still run for office. Mm-hmm. Black man can't. You just learn to be good. And in the end, you benefit from that extra resilience. Mm-hmm.
As Donald Trump argues that he is above the law, that was Michelle Obama saying that if Trump were a black man, he wouldn't be allowed to run for any office, let alone the presidency. Joining me now is radio and podcast star and co-host of The Breakfast Club, Charlamagne the God, along with politics and culture commentator and host of the Native Land Pod, Angela Rye. So Angela, Michelle Obama has this great skill of being able to shade Donald Trump without ever actually uttering his name. But is she right?
Of course. I think I think that what we know and what I think she got baptized by fire with in 2008 when Barack Obama was running for office, and she said, and I'll never forget because I was like, finally somebody's saying something that I agree with. She said, for the first time in my adult life, I am proud of my country, and got dragged. We are finally at a place on the other side of a Donald Trump presidency where people can a little bit, they can kind of understand on the other side of an insurrection what she might have meant. And so now,
I don't know. I mean, you think they understand?
I think somebody might, maybe not. I mean, maybe a majority, right? Yeah. You would get fooled if you look at some of the social media, but I think a majority understand what she means, even if they don't like it.
But they're asking for, Joe Biden now to be impeached, even though Donald Trump is under
now, that's not the day I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I want to just ask you, Charlamagne, I mean, you made some waves in a recent interview saying that you regret endorsing Joe Biden. Why?
It's not that I regret endorsing Joe Biden. It's just that, I think that we all can get burned, by politicians. Because when I say endorsing, I put my name and my reputation on the line with my listeners. And when my listeners feel like he didn't deliver, they come back to me and they say, hey, man, you're the one who told us to vote for, Joe Biden. You're the one who told us to vote for Kamala Harris. So, I care about my listeners and what my listeners think. But I do want to say that, I think President Biden historically has been a lack of a better word, a shitty elected official. But, Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it.
So you'd vote for Biden again?
I'm not saying either or, but I think, since y'all ask answers, because that's what y'all do on CNN, you like to ask answers, like you ask. What I say is you asked is if Donald Trump was black, would he get locked up? You know the answer to that.
But I mean,
right?
I don't know the. So you are going to vote for Joe Biden?
I think it's simple and plain. Like, if you Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it. I don't know what to tell people. And I know it sounds, when you say that now in 2024, you've heard it so much because every time, there's a Republican candidate, people say, oh, it's the end of democracy. He's the, people go so far as to say, oh, he's the Antichrist. But this is one of those times where, it really actually positively is true.
So, Angela, what he's saying.
All right, so we back, right? All right, so it started off in that segment. You seen Michelle Obama sitting there, right? And she was kind of saying there's a difference in status in this life or in this country, right? Right, the positions, and that those charges and allegations that is allegedly on Donald Trump, that a black person, a black man, has no chance in the system if he was going through such, right? That's what she's saying. Now, again, you got Michelle Obama already associated on this, and there again, they were talking, right? But they went and got her because she was somewhere speaking. So again, I told you, magical surrogates season coming. You're gonna see a whole bunch of people, and there's a background. We're gonna get into that, right? So check this out, right? So you heard her say now something she said that was a little bit, I don't know whether you caught that or not. She said, you have to learn to be good. In the end, you benefit from it. Let me say that one more again. You have to learn to be good. In the end, you benefit from it. Is that part of racial etiquette? Is that, keep your head down low, don't speak too loud, cross the street, lay your coat down over the puddle of water? What are they asking? What does she mean by that, right? She said, because you'll get extra resilience from that. Extra resilience. So, we know that, again, as I said, racial etiquette, that are some of the things that our people had to endure in order to maintain. A lot of us worked at places that we might have been for years dealing with some kind of manager or supervisor or even co-workers that make it hard for you, whatever comes, I guess, if you could say some kind of platonic relationship, if you could say that by work, you deal with it in that capacity, but if you didn't have to really mess with them, you wouldn't mess with them at all. And some of them even use the position of their power to make it hard. So there's a lot of our people who've gone to work, been resilient, dealing with a lot of somebody else's nonsense, and we would persevere to get the ends meet to justify our survival. But that was her advice. Now, again, you take it or leave it alone. So, again, she says if Trump was a black man, he wouldn't be able to run for anything. So now then, again, that's obvious. We understand that, right? Again, tonight's show, I'm going to show you something when it comes to that, because sometimes I've been watching some shows and I hear some of our young people, young adults and people, and sometimes even older ones, nobody really goes into depth about how that works and why that is the way it is, right? But we're going to show some of that tonight. So we see that Angela Rye, I guess that's her name, is Charlemagne the God, and she comes in. She said that Michelle Obama has a skill of shading Trump without saying his name, right? And those kind of things, like I said, those are kind of things when you dealing with in that atmosphere with those type of people, right? So yeah, you'll build a tolerance or a skill again, those, what they said. What I think there used to be a term when people say, what they call it when they be at work, they got the code switch, right? I always be me all the time. I don't code switch. And then, I talk this way if I'm at work. I'm talking the same way that I talk to you now. I will talk to you at work. Other people have a job voice, right? Because they feel like, like people who are supposedly educated speak a certain way because they say the way you speak is, you're uncouth, you're not, educated. You don't sound educated. So what is education? Is it the way that I sound, or is it about either what I'm saying, pronunciations, understanding, so forth and so on? But, like I say, code switch for some people. So I guess we're kind of saying that in our own way, right? And so she goes into, she talks about the time that when Michelle Obama, and some of you might remember when she said about the first time in her life she was proud of her country. Let me say that one more again. Some of you might remember when that time when Michelle Obama had said that it was the first time in her life that she was proud of her country. And so as you see, Angela Rye was sitting there saying that that was a moment for her that she always remembered. And the fact that, what she say? Okay, yeah. Right. So let me say something about that, because when she said that, that was back in 2008. It was on that Wisconsin primary back in 2008. And she said, for the first time in her adult life, I'm really proud of my country because it feels like hope is making a comeback. Not just because Barack had done well, because I think people are hungry for change. And I think John McCain's wife came out, and then they made the whole thing saying to the fact that, being proud of your country, people use that to try to say, well, why wouldn't you be proud of your country? As if, again, being Black American and touches digis of this land, that our history here may make some people uncomfortable when talking about it. We know it does, because it's like the elephant in the room that everybody tries to ignore. And so what ended up happening is the fact that, okay, she said that the blowback came because you should be happy for the simple fact that you made it. You be this, you went to school and so forth. All that stuff that didn't happen, you should be bigger and greater than that. It seems like every time when it comes to us, and again, I'm going to show you in today's show that some of the stuff, even today, being Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, people are taking their position. Just like you see in the beginning of the intro there with Ann Coulter. Now, I don't say Ann Coulter like saying that I'm some supporter of her. Again, they say a broke clock is right twice a day. Let me say that one more again. They say a broke clock is right at least twice a day. So even with somebody who I know, again, sometimes they say a leopard don't change his spot. Some people gonna be who they is, but that don't mean that sometimes they don't say something that is right and exact. And based on that conversation that day, when she was sitting there and they brought that up, she couldn't have said no better than one of us wasn't sitting in there. You get what I'm saying? So she got the point for that. But that don't mean everything that she ever said or done that somebody gonna be in agreement. I heard somebody talk about that, but just in case if you heard here, I'm saying that, right? So she got a lot of backlash for that. Because when we say we not proud, they may try to make you un-American, you unpatriotic. As if like we don't have a long, extensive history as to the things that have been put on us. Even though a lot of people work hard to say, and you're gonna see later, I got a clip with somebody who said how really we need to throw that away. It's funny how everybody could tell us throw away what happened or our history so we can all move forward, but I ain't gonna jump the gun, but I got something for that. Now, so here was Angela Rye was saying that she was proud of that moment. And maybe it was a lot of other people was thinking that too. Now, she goes in and she says, Angela Rye says that she's proud that we're finally on the other side of Donald Trump's presidency of the insurrection. Okay? Now you got to remember, she's sitting there having this conversation. They got Charlamagne the God. She's there. And this is the platform for him to do what? Walk it back. Let me say that one more again. This is the program. This is going to be the platform for what you originally seen when I showed you he did the week before. He come back the next week and they say, okay, now remember in the one part that I showed you of last week's show of that, what they said about him regretting, remember the person that was talking wasn't Charlamagne the God. That was actually, I think his name was Brockton Brooker, I think his name is, right? That individual wrote the article, and supposedly the words that he wrote was Charlamagne's word. So nobody actually seen Charlamagne. They gave some clips. You heard him say some excerpts, but he didn't say what he wrote per se. But it might have been in the interview that they had. So now they're going to use this platform that you see him speaking on CNN, and what he ended up doing? He walked it back. Did he not? Did he not walk that back? You heard him say what he said, right? Okay, just in case you didn't hear what he said, right? Okay. So, but again, Angela Rye is there too as kind of like the aide. Because again, we don't know why he should need a helper, right? He a grown man. But I think they got some affiliation of a new podcast they got, because I think it's Gillum, Andrew Gillum, her, and I think the other sister that was on, that they threw off over there on that damn show over there they used to do over there with Joy Reid. She was doing that over there, right? And they got a podcast, and I think Charlamagne got some affiliation to that, right? So you can see, if you look at her facial expression, because Charlamagne starts saying some things after yet he's supposed to be there to try to what? Walk that back. He's trying to clean that up, but yet he's still trying to maintain this. Now again, if you're an avid watcher of my show here, you know I don't do nothing to do about no celebrities, athletes, none of that. I'm doing this because I want to show y'all something here, right? I want to show something, right? So check it out. So they want to play on the fact, again, being able to have the verbiage, again, the other side of the insurrection, right? These are little trigger words that, again, for certain people who are not in depth about all the history, the things that took place, and the propaganda that's being spewed on the side about Trump, in the same way go vice versa, the ping pong match between Biden and Trump. So they get back to him, right? He says, now the host says, now, do you regret the fact that you said what you said? He said, it's not I regret endorsing by Joe Biden. Wait a minute. It's not what do you say? Not that I regret endorsing Joe Biden. Okay. But in that CBS one, it said you regretted it, correct? You said he regretted it, right? But he gives his reason why he says that. He says we all can get burned by politicians. When he said he was endorsing, he said, look, when I co-sign something, I put my name on it. My rep is on the line with those who are my constituents as listeners and my brand, right? He's right for saying that, right? You co-sign somebody. Again, remember, if you seen that show, remember I gave you the analogy, remember in Harlem Nights, when Cantone told, I don't know what the white cat name was, put your hand under the piano. Because remember, he brought Tommy in. Tommy come to finally been sticking money from them. They slit his throat. And then after they slit his throat, they came to him and said, hey, you know what? You did bring him in here, right? Put your hand under the piano. And what happened? Doctor said, broke pretty good. Yeah, it broke pretty good, right? So that was for bringing him in. So when you co-sign somebody, when you from where I'm from, you bring somebody in, and then they did some stuff, and you brought them in. I guess everybody gonna be looking for you. So he was just trying to say, look, now again, this the walk back, right? This the walk back. He says now, when I didn't deliver they came back to me. He said he cares about his listeners and what they think. Right? So that's what it is. That's his brand, them his people. That's who we support. But see, what he's done is he's did something that is against the grain. What I want y'all to pay attention to, look at all of them that's going to come out in the next pretty much from now. I think more between now and February, because I believe they use today being the holiday to start it off. And then next month, because it's Black History Month, you're going to see all kinds of events and mugs. And if you don't start seeing Get Your Booty to the Pole, and what was that Saucy Santana, that thing? Oh, I was actually going to put that in there, but I ain't want to do all that, right? So, okay. So he cares about his listeners. He said, now check this out. Now I want you to pay attention to Angela Rye's face, because Charlemagne is trying to walk back, but yet he's still trying to make the stance. And you can see it in her face. Didn't you remember when he said Joe Biden historically has been, as a lack of better word, he say a shitty elected official. Right? Did you not hear him say that? He said Joe Biden historically has been, a lack of better word, a shitty elected official. But, now there you go, but, you know what I mean? You say but, right? But Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it. You hear that word right there? You hear that phrase right there? You're going to keep hearing that one. That's one of their go-to. Again, what is it? Is the end of democracy as we know it. We're going to keep hearing that. And so she asked him, would you vote for Biden again? See, giving him this opportunity, right? He said, I'm not saying either or. I'm not saying either or. Right? So are you going to vote? So did she come back double down? Are you going to vote for Joe Biden? He didn't say yes or no, but what did he say? It's simple and plain. Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it. So what is that? Y'all know what a Hobson choice is? A Hobson choice is back in the day when they made that Ford Model T, and you went into the dealership and you was like, say, well, what color you want? Well, we got is black. Choose one. What choice is there? You ain't got no damn choice. They're all black. Just pick one. Get the one closest to the door. How about that one? Right? So a Hobson choice is no choice at all. So basically, that's what he said. Based on the fact that he has now said that Trump is the end of democracy as we know it, that is simple and plain who I must vote for. But yet you just went last week and said you regret. See? Then people, once a time, he said some things before when he did that, and they told him he did good, and then he came back. They don't get to do what we do because you part of in the inner circle. You don't get in those levels without being part of, whether fraternization, socialization, clique, affiliation, nepotism, all those things, right? Okay. So what does he do then? He said, this time it's really true, right? So that is what they're going to now push, that it's the end of democracy as we know it. There's kind of a fear in it, and they're going to keep pushing that. Okay. So the Breakfast Club listeners, and they're disappointed in Biden administration, it is understood by them. They said, seriously, there are people in the cabinet. Now, this was Angela Rye talking about, is there a problem? I mean, she talked about the Breakfast Club, but she talked to instead of talking to Charlemagne, she threw it to Angela Rye, right? And I think she's sister girl with vice president, right? So they trying to help him, right? Walk him back. So she said there's people in in his cabinet who understand the position that Charlemagne takes. Who would that be? Probably most like Kamala Harris. She understands the real test. Now he said the real test is what will they do with the understanding that what Charlamagne has told them? What will they do with it? Again, if people who's supposed to be your constituents or those supposed to be the base, and yet y'all can't even come and talk to them about nothing. Like I said, your old lady, your old man said, I'm going to store get some cigarettes or some milk, and then come back 3 years later, talking about they coming in. Who gonna let them in if you ain't already done moved on, moved away, whatever it might be, right? And if you do talk to them, things with those song, I said, nothing's been the same ever since you left that day. It ain't not gonna be the same since the day you left that day. It ain't gonna never be right. But in this case, when you in that fraternity in that circle, it got to be right. Okay. So they said it's hard to get people who are already reluctant about going and doing and dealing with this pandemic. Right? Matter of fact, I might have jumped the gun, y'all. Hold on. Yeah, y'all didn't hear that part. Because I need you to see her face. I need you to see the read on Angela Rye's face as Charlamagne is steady trying to stay that position like you messed it up. But watch it. Be right back. Check this out.
Breakfast Club listeners and the disappointment, I guess, that there might be with the Biden administration. Do you see that being understood by the Biden campaign? Are they taking that seriously?
I think that there are folks in the campaign. I think there are folks in the White House. There are folks in the VP's office that certainly understand and have stressed these points to them ad nauseum. I think Madam Vice President understands. I think that what the real test will be what they do with that understanding. Right. I think Leonard is absolutely right. It's hard to get people to do something that they already were very reluctant about doing. Don't forget they were overcoming a pandemic like the rest of us, overcoming George Floyd's death and murder for 9 minutes and 30 seconds on camera. There was a lot that folks had to overcome to get there. And so when you have to sacrifice so much, the least you can do is meet us in our sacrifice. And I think that's really what he's saying. It sounds like a reluctant endorsement you got out of him.
It does sound that way.
But I think the reality of it is...
I will always vote for democracy, you know, and what I keep trying to...
So then it's a binary choice.
Can you talk about the vice president? She just mentioned Vice President Harris. You've also kind of pulled back from that endorsement as well. What specifically do you see her not doing right?
Well, you know, when I said that about her disappearing, it wasn't even about her, you know, what she's done as vice president, the duties of a vice president. It was about, you know, how she would interact with people who supported her, you know. And I think that even when I say disappear, I'm talking about the person that I spoke to in 2020. You know, when I speak to her, it didn't seem like, you know, she was as much of a politician as she seems to be now. You know, I feel like, you know, Bakari Sellers has said it a million times. They've given her a trash portfolio and, you know, they kind of keep her in the tuck and they don't let her be who she is willing to be. But I think at a time like this, man, if we're having these serious conversations about, you know, democracy being on the line, I think that all of us should realize the language of politics is dead. And I think, you know, new normals call for new things. So I think now's not the time for her to, you know, be a politician.
You
now
think it's a communication issue that she
Democrats suck at messaging, period. We know this already, though. Like, the Democrats suck at messaging. Like, it's not like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris haven't done a lot of great things. They just don't know how to message it to the American people.
Who is a politician that you could support that for the presidency, a new age politician, in your words?
Does it matter if our only choices right now are Biden and Trump?
It
does.
I'm curious about,
reimagine a world.
You know, what do you see out there? Do you see anybody fulfilling what you think needs to be done at that level?
No. Not in a little bit, because like I said, the language of politics is dead. And I think that's one thing, you know, Trump did do. Like, Trump made it to where you could speak truth to power if you want to. But I think that a lot of folks choose not to. Like, nobody's stupid. Like, we're all sitting there.
It wasn't truth he was speaking.
I'm not going to say it was truth, but it's truthful to the people that he's speaking to. Like, you know, whenever you can get on, you can get on TV and you can say, hey, I'm going to be a dictator on day one. And, you know, nobody gets upset about that. In fact, that, you know, just causes you to go up in the polls. They like clearly the things that he's saying. Maybe saying he's speaking truth is the wrong thing to say, but he's definitely speaking to his his constituents.
He's speaking to the fear and stoking the fear of an electorate that is very concerned about what Tiff was even saying earlier about a rising majority. We know that is indeed the case. I think the hard thing about going back to Kamala Harris, Madam Vice President, we say a lot of this, they won't let her. And I take issue with the language, right? I think that she does need to be empowered, and she has that power to walk in that power. She has owned and requested a lot of what is in her portfolio. I think what is unfortunate is the way that she sounds the alarm. A lot of the folks on her team sound the alarm. It is not being echoed by folks in the White House.
What's the point of sounding the alarm behind the scenes? Like if we're talking about
it's all been behind the scenes, like even today, right? Her being in Atlanta, talking to voters, talking to folks that run voting rights organizations, talking to a base that they need, that they rely on.
But they should have been doing that for months.
When you say, I mean,
why wait for President Barack Obama to come out to light a fire under the campaign? And for y'all to, go out there and start doing things. And then, when it comes to President Biden, the first thing you do is go to a beautiful black church, Emmanuel AME, in my birthplace, Charleston, South Carolina, and then go to the soul food spot, Hannibal's Restaurant. Like, that is the thing that Democrats have been doing for years. Like, that's not effective anymore. Just showing up to a black church and then going to a soul food restaurant.
If the election were held today, I mean, do you think Biden wins or loses?
Yeah, the polls say he loses.
And you believe that?
That's what the polls say. And even when we have this conversation about, black voters, the reason that so many of us are sounding the alarm the way we are, because it's not just black voters, it's the vote, period. It's black voters, Latino voters, independents. And he's losing to somebody who has 91 criminal charges, 4 indictments, 2 impeachments. How are you losing into the polls to somebody like that?
Breakfast.
So we back, right? So there you go. You heard it that time, right? So you heard her said that they had to get out there with the people. They were reluctant about doing and dealing with the pandemic, right? So again, Angela Rye is kind of like, I see somebody with a seeing eye dog. Well, I guess he the dog and she blind. So he helped. No, I take that back. She the dog and he the blind one. So she kind of like they're kind of guiding him, but he's kind of disobedient a little bit. He's still not trained properly. And you can see it in her face. Like, don't say that. You know what I'm saying? They try to put him in a situation so they think they too could talk to get him out of it. But he being who he is, he still said it anyway. Slid his foot back in his mouth. Okay. So let's look at some of this, right? Let's look at some of how this went down, right? Now, so as you heard her say that black folks went through, liquid blanket 19. That's what we say over here, right? The blanket being in history that, again, you were original Aboriginal and Indigenous Niji, Black American in this country from the southeastern part we call down south. Remember the story say about the Native Americans and giving them the blankets? Well, we had the liquid blankets in 2020, right? They gave out the liquid blankets, right? So she said we were dealing with the liquid blankets, right? George Floyd. And yet, with all that dealing with, that base, according to what they sold. Now, again, I'm not over here advocating anything about no voting. None of that. We just, again, we report. We see some things out there we're going to talk about because I want to show you, because you're finna get inundated. All your timelines. That's how we go. You're going to see a whole bunch of them. They coming, y'all. They coming. Just believe me when I tell you that. They coming. So, yeah, think about that. Under all that stress, under that being quarantined, people losing their jobs, some people still ain't recovered. And yet, you said out your own mouth that it was because of them that you was able to retain and hold your position. Here it is 3-4 years later. You kind of got to come back again, right? Because everything is not in your favor. And so here it is one person who, again, know he had helped endorse you. And now you telling him in the back rooms, we don't need you. So he goes out and I guess to touche that, he go on CBS and say he regret Okay. All right. Just in case you didn't know that, right? So they go in, and she says they were with the clarity of the people after they did what they did. They was go ahead and they were looking for you to reciprocate that back to them, right? Quid pro quos in politics, right? One hand washes the other hand, one hand for the other hand. But that don't seem to be the way it is, right? And as I go along, I'm gonna show you something historically that the mind games that they play on us. We tell ourselves one thing, but something else is happening, and some of us don't want to ever believe that because you have to believe something is not what it has always been. It ain't never changed, but you want it to believe. You want to believe that, and yet people doing stuff right in our face. Yeah, like you don't even see it. So she said it sounded like when he said that he regretted the fact that he had endorsed. They said it sounded like he was, sounded like he was reluctant. It sounded that way. They were trying to help him. And what did he do? I always vote for democracy. He cut that off. He cut them off. You seen her face, right? She was like, wait a minute. Don't you know we're trying to help you? And then the host goes in and says, what about what you said about Kamala Harris? Now, I think this really is the agenda by these two, right? Because you got some of our sisters who into the feminists. Like if you ever watch over here, and I done told you, some of our sisters drop being, again, indigenous, aboriginal, Black American to become feminists, right? A lot of them dropped that being Black and became a feminist, got in the movement with the other one because she can't get the keys to the house. She just as equal when it comes to finances and stuff and inheritance, but he rigged the game so it's only about the male part. So he tricked you to get into the feminist game, leave your family to say you hate men and got in there with them, and then they use your plight in history to catapult themselves because when they went to affirmative action, who was the one that got it? When it predicated on her, see, she was always still first. And then some of you was right now, oh, men ain't nothing. Wait a minute. We both was at the same house eating the fried bologna sandwich with the fork on the stove. We both was doing that. We kind of forgot that. So we had to go through this a little bit. And so in this case here, you seen the camaraderie because they said, now, Kamala was supporting you, right? She's part of the cabinet. She understands you. But what did he say? Watch what he says, right? Just in case whether you heard or not, right? What do we do over here? Old cartoons that come on back in the day, two little Indians, and one would go bloom, 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 bloom. Amen. What him say? Well, that's what I do. I give you some of the stuff, and then I give you a reinterpretation from my own way, just in case somebody who didn't get it. See, we worry about the people who don't get it more than the people who can get it. Why do I have to worry about it? Isn't that what it says in the scriptures? Why? It said, I don't go after the 99, I go after the lost sheep. Let me say that one more again. I don't need to go after the 99 that's obedient and following. I need to go after the ones that's disobedient. Because everybody says it's a waste of time. Maybe. I remember when it said what he said, Abraham said, what Abraham said, there gotta be at least 5 in there. There ain't 5 in there. Maybe there's 4 in there. There ain't 4. Well, please don't be angry with me, but I'm gonna try, right? But anyway, for those who need to hear that, right? So he says that you pull back. She said you pull back from your endorsement on Kamala Harris. Wasn't that? He said, but that wasn't about her duty, right? He said it wasn't about her job. What he's saying is she pulled that because why? She changed in her interactions with those who supported her. You know how some people is. You grow up with them, they get a job, get a position, and all of a sudden they ain't the same way they used to be. They're a little stiff now, they're a little up now, nose up high. Oh, we kind of forgot you. Kind of walk past, oh, I didn't even know you was there, right? So that's what he kind of feels. Say, wait a minute, when you was down here, needed to get up. You came over here. I endorsed you, and then all of a sudden now, you act like you say, you act like you don't know nobody, right? And so here was the people that supported her. It started to wane once they got what they wanted. Wasn't approachable no more. Start acting like a politician, he said. Huh? Then start giving promises you couldn't keep. Huh? So how we cool, and I'm endorsing you, but now you acting like the people who these other folks, right? So he said, well, they keep her tucked away. Now think about that too. They don't show Kamala Harris. He right. They keep her tucked away because why? What did they write back in the 60s? They wrote benign neglect policy. Directly for whom? So they can't never come and directly say, hey, that's what I'm trying to show y'all. The whole game from now on till the end, till they start to that November 6th or 7th, is to benign neglect because why? Nobody won't promise you nothing. They're not going to promise you nothing. So what we're going to do is give you all this flower. We're going to use all these people that got a lot of influence that you like. You're going to see the concerts, some dance, some commercials. But the person who's running, where you at? Where you at? Huh? Running campaigns and most ain't even look, the primaries and they send the debate, neither one of them have to be there. It's just a shoe-in. It's just them two. So what was part of the primaries for? Say the debates. It's just these two. Right? So anyway, Charlamagne goes on with that, right? So he's talking about her. He says that with the seriousness of democracy on the line, shouldn't those who be in need to be a part of and be extended towards them? You know what I'm saying? Now here you is saying the end of democracy, and the people who got you there, are you taking it for granted that you don't have to come to them, or is it just a given? Because again, as you heard over here on this show, we as black folks have become more mature in the game, and that's why it's the monkey wrench in the game. It ain't the old. I'm not saying all of us, because there's a lot of work out here that need to be done, right? But some of us know that again, in quid pro quo, in exchange, tangible for vote. You don't just get it just because you're in the party. And so you're seeing people who are now starting to slowly come out of the Democratic Party, they become independent and so forth, and becoming knowing more about the issue. That's like, again, that's why I kind of gone in this realm of report, because we don't have a lot. We have some people that do it, but you got to even go even lower than them. Now, I think that'd be me. That's how I put myself. I'm even lower than them mugs, right? Because of how they got me positioned. But anyway, so he said they suck in messaging. He said, well, what if there was a new age politician? Is that what's needed? Again, like he said, what does that matter when you only got the two, Biden and Trump? So why are we even talking about that? And they try to get off of that, right? He said the language of the politician is dead. He said Trump spoke truth. Trump has spoke truth, right, to the people. But he kind of had to walk that back a little bit, because why? He can't say what he's saying is true. He said, now, well, maybe he's talking truth to his constituents and all people of his base, and they may take it as a truth, but that might be their truth. But he's speaking truth to the powers with them. Now, you got to remember, when you're in that circle and in that game with them, you're in the club. How many times have you seen anybody come out that's in that club or that circle and then walk it back and say they ain't down with them no more? And then what normally happens after that? Matter of fact, if you kind of go back and look at that video, you see that he can't even look at the camera when he said he got his head down, because he know he wasn't able to stand on what he stood on. So now the thing is, what I want to finish off on this part is, the part of Kamala is more of importance to them, because I believe they are sorority sisters. And so they're looking at the opportunity for Kamala to get into positions because, again, if you sister girl you cool with, she a boss, she got some positions, you can use this for, again, I put it like this. There's some people who look at, okay, let's say, I think it's either, it's what they call black ice, or let's say a sheet of ice. Let's say you was walking, and you walk in the air you didn't know. It seemed like ground, and your ass fell in the hole, hit your head, kind of knock you a little unconscious. You went to you wake up and you up underwater, but you under a sheet of ice, but you don't know how you got in there. Now, what's gonna help you? A crack in the ice, or you need to get your ass out of the damn ice. You get what I'm saying? Cracking the ice ain't gonna help you. You need to get fully out of the damn ice. And some people, our people, have been saying cracking the window or the glass ceiling until it breaks is progress. Some people believe that. A lot of our people believe that. Cracking the glass is progress. Look where we at right now. Look at the situation we in right now. Right? Some of you may not be, but there's a lot of us who will be hurt by what's going down. Okay? And then he says that the fact that it's the issue with the language of Kamala Harris not able to be herself. She's ready to be, and then they try to defend her. Well, she's ready to be empowered. See? They're trying to protect her. They got an interest in her. He just trying to be truthful about it. Like, wait a minute. Again, do you, per se, when you look at when somebody got in that position, that seat as president, did you feel elated? Did you say, we finally made it? Did you feel that? Or is it just a substitute teacher when you came to class and the substitute teacher in there today? You're just running the damn classroom for the day. It ain't really your school, right? So why do we look at those things as something of grandeur when we know you just in there temporarily? It's nothing, and then for 8 years, what are we really saying that done took place that we benefit? So why do we have these false sense of progress when it's really just, well, you got a job? You didn't get to own nothing. You got benefit, and your family got the benefit, and some acquaintances, associations, and affiliation, that stuff. But what did we, as the people, what did we get? Nobody. I'm pretty sure nobody got an answer for that, right? So he goes on and talks about she's not able to be herself. They say, well, she need to be empowered. He said, well, why would they wait till Barack Obama come and light a fire to start the campaign? Why weren't they out here talking to us long before he got into it, right? And then talks about how the fast part that they went to the A&E church, right? And then when it had the black restaurant where they had some soul food. Well, I should just happen to have, just in case you didn't see that. Matter of fact, you know the real reason why they hoping on Kamala? Some people might be, because remember when she said this?
If you elected president, would you sign that bill if it came across your desk?
When I am elected president, I will sign that
bill. They call that turn the beat around. Senator Kamala Harris, thank you. If you elected president.
So, right, remember she said that, right? So some people going to hold her feet to the fire. But you better look at that trick language. Being the president and then sitting there, I'll sign the bill. Well, you got to pass in Congress before it get to your damn desk. Let me say that one more again for those with the paper over the window. In order for you, if you become president, and I guess it kind of alluded to HR 40, or, a lot of people ping pong back and forth whether they support HR 40. They think it's a lot of fluff, but I'm going to just tell you like this. It was John Conyers who did that bill, HR 40, in 1989. John Conyers did that because he was there in Congress when in 1988, when Ronald Reagan and them gave the interim Japanese their money. And he was like, well, damn, if you gave them their money, he went and did it and put that bill in there. So that bill been sitting there since 1989, which would be, was that 35? That'd be about 35 years this year. 35 years that bill was sitting in HR 40, and then who came in there and did, like we were always saying, just like the conversation with hip hop and some of the other things that's happening, who went in there and erased John Conye's name, put their name on it, and now it looks like when history comes, if it ever should come to that, her name, Sheila Jackson, is going to be on HR 40. What happened to John Conye? What happened to John Conye's name? John Conye actually used to be in affiliation with Martin Luther King Jr. Matter of fact, I think he did some other legislation that even got the help to do some things that was dealing with Martin Luther King in that holiday, if I'm not mistaken. So here he is to be what? Like Malcolm said in the intro, rewrite, retell history. So here's somebody took the opportunity to take his name off, and now guess what? Got her name on there, and she is Jamaican, right? So why would you do that? But anyway, so that's the one point there that you see that Angela Rye and the co-host or the host of the show is trying to, keep in, don't say so bad about her because she got the opportunity, Charlamagne, to be in that. But see, it's all predicated on whether Joe Biden gets another in. And so I guess it's like, if he gets in again, can he last 4 years? Or they going to say, we'll stuff some up, we'll get a suit. Like some people say it's already a skin suit. We'll put him up in there. You're not going to get in there like that. Even if he was, say hypothetically, no, we're not, but we're just saying he should fall in while he's in office, automatically you get the seat. You think that you ain't thinking about that? They think about that, right? So, okay, whatever it is, but I think that's what they're trying to protect. And again, if you get the position, you affiliated with her, you get some positions just like her. Now, let me show you, because I'm going to take you over to, again, remember Charlamagne said that it was Barack Obama coming out lighting the fire. But let me take you back when Barack Obama had did some campaigning, the last campaign. Listen what he says real quick. It's real short, right? Listen to this. Check this out.
I hate to put a little pressure on you, but the fate of the republic rests on your shoulders. So I hate to put a little pressure on you, but the fate of the republic rests on your shoulders. So, right? See, with Charlamagne, you're gonna hear this mantra saying the end of democracy. But on the last one, what he just say? So, I hate to put a little pressure on you, but the fate of the republic rests on your shoulders. So, I hate to put a little pressure on you, but the fate of the republic rests on your shoulders. So,
election, I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted. The fact that people think that government, does it really even do anything? And I'm like, oh my God, does government do everything for us? And we cannot take this democracy for granted. And sometimes I worry that we do. Those are the things that keep me up.
Wow. That's former First Lady Michelle Obama, who says the possible results of the 2024 election keep her up at night. Mika, let me ask you, how important is it that Michelle Obama stays engaged from now through the election and having her voice, her influential voice out there? Same with Barack Obama. How important is it that they keep that message out there as two of the most popular people, if not the two most popular people in the Democratic Party?
You know, you just actually gave the reason. They're incredibly popular. They draw huge crowds. Michelle Obama has her own incredible following, and the two of them can turn out others. And, you know, a lot of people like Joe Biden needs to do this. Joe Biden needs to do that. Everybody needs to get on it. And I hope that is not the last time we see Michelle Obama. I hope we see her on the campaign trail. I hope we see former President Obama, and I hope we see them galvanizing other big names, people with big followings, to get involved in this election, as it is the election of a lifetime. And Eugene, well, you have a new piece in the Washington Post, if I may, entitled "Biden Must Elevate These Democratic Leaders If He Wants to Win." Gene, go.
Well, this is kind of an all-hands situation, isn't it?
All hands on deck.
And so, I wrote about others, out there in the country, people like Stacey Abrams, Julian Castro, Jamie Harrison, who runs the DNC. I want to hear more of
mayors, governors,
the Tennessee two.
Yes.
I want to hear more from all these people. I want them. I want their voices raised and elevated by the Biden campaign and by the party apparatus. They need to be out there spreading that gospel. I think it's highly significant, actually, that Michelle Obama, though, came out and talked about politics and the election this early in that explicit a way. Right. She, it's no secret, she has not always loved politics. She has not always loved the fray, and that she believes it's important enough to get involved and get out there this early, I think is significant, and I think it's a hopeful sign for the Democratic Party.
I know
frankly.
Michelle Obama doesn't love politics.
Election. I am terrified.
We back, right? So we back. So again, did you see how in the beginning with Michelle Obama said, "I'm terrified of what could possibly happen." Is that dropping a little seed of something? I'm terrified of what could possibly happen, right? Your leaders matter, who you choose, who speaks, who speaks at the bully bullpit. It affects us in ways people don't understand. She said, government, does it really do anything? People think that government really doesn't do anything. She said, oh my God, government does everything for us. Well, let me say that one more again. Did you hear her say that? Did you hear her say that? She said, government, does it really do anything? That's what people say. Then she said, oh my God, government does everything for us and we can't take it for granted. I hear the little innuendos in there. I worry that we do, that we take it for granted. Those are the things that keeps me up, she says, right? That's the little clip they do because she was doing on another interview on another show. Right? Okay. Already, they lead the lead dogs on the sled. Barack and Michelle, lead dogs, going out first, right? They're gonna spark it first, right? So now this what's the name? Joe Scrowball? What is his name? Joe Gold. What the hell his name is? Joe something, right? Scrowball, some shit like that. But anyway. You ever seen the video where his co-host, I don't know her name. Remember one time she said, it's our job to tell them what to think. Remember she said, it's our job to tell them what they need to think. So, okay, so let's see. They said in the proceedings, are they not? These are the things that keep me up at night. That's what she says, right? So they say the possible results of the 2024 election keeps her up. How important is it, and the importance that Michelle Obama stays engaged through the election? Now, why is it that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama had to get out here and rah-rah so much when they ain't running? Yeah, you affiliated with it. Yeah, your loyalty to the party. Why y'all the lead dogs in this? If that's his administration, don't he need to be out here saying something? Or is it because, like I said, he left for milk 3 years ago and now he's showing up, right? He went to go get a pack of cigarettes. He's just now showing up. And what can he say? He can't say what Kamala Harris said, right? He ain't trying to say that, right? He ain't trying to go there with that, right? Okay. So let's check this out. So they say that her influential voice out there, again, they're using the influence of what the people who are supposed to be following them, that they're going to be able to influence people. They the lead dogs, and they finna go out here and they finna influence, right? Same as Barack Obama, to keep that message out there. What is the message now? And who are they really going at? That's the question. Who are they really trying to get? Right? Because it looks like the other part of that Democrat Party, where they at? All the people who've been benefiting, coming in, getting all that free. They can't vote, huh? Oh, they can't vote? Oh, that's what they tell. They can't vote, right? Right? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. They say these are two most popular people in the Democratic Party. So you gave the reasons they're very popular. See, using popularity. Wait a minute. Politics ain't about, it has its play, but when you become mature in the game, it's about what? Hey, in exchange for this vote, what you offering this group, this people? Right? Isn't that what it quid pro? That's right. Isn't that what it's for? What is about this just being influential when I like somebody and I'm voting because I like him. I like her. She said government does everything, but the one people who need the most, who in every category damn near is always number one in the worst way, but can't get nothing when it comes to it, right? Got every excuse in the damn book. So goes on and talks about how that they draw large crowds, have incredible followings. These two can turn out others. Okay, that's the key. They're going to turn out others, and as I'm telling you, be prepared because they coming. They said Joe needs to do this, and that everyone needs to do. Now see how they did that? Joe needs to do it. No, not just Joe. Everyone needs to help. Yeah. Run a campaign and the person who running ain't got to say nothing, right? We're going to let all the influential people entice you, get you hyped and ready to go. Get out there, do one for me, right? So they want to keep that message out there. That's what they said. They want to keep that message out there. I hope that this is not the last time that we see Michelle Obama. Oh, you come on, the last time you'll see it, right? And hoping to see that the Obamas on the campaign trail, hoping that helps galvanize other big names with big followings to get people involved in this election. The election of a lifetime. That's the other mantra. The election of a lifetime. What do they mean by that? The election now again, it depends on what side of the coin you is. Election of a lifetime could be somebody who's been waiting for this opportunity. They've been waiting on the opportunity. Now, is that us? Would that be us? Ask yourself, would that be us? This is election of a lifetime? Because could we get what we've been wanting? Is that we in a position to hold that, or is it somebody else on the other side of that who could be, opportunity of a lifetime for them to try to get something? Is that what they saying? What coded language is that? If there's any code in there at all, right? Okay. That's how they be speaking. They be slipping it in on you, right? So election of a lifetime, and what was the one that Charlemagne the God said? The end of democracy as we know it, right? Okay. So she handed over, she said, go, Gene. Now you know he appointed. He only paid there because of what? You know what he there for, right? And so again, he started talking about all the who's who lists. Start talking about mayors and governors, and right? He started talking about all these people. Wait a minute. You're putting the call out, the APB, all politicians bulletin. We need everybody, all hands on deck. He said, I want to hear from all of them. I want to hear from. He said, he wants those who can raise and elevate and put Joe Biden above in his campaign. He said he wanted spreading that gospel. What gospel? What are you talking about? He said, like Michelle Obama telling politicians and get the election, like she's talking politics and election. You see, she really don't like it, but she's out here. She out here this early with explicit language. If she who doesn't like politics, if she's out here, why the rest of you out here? Because again, what is a surrogate? Go look up surrogate celebrities. I think you can get I think it's 96,000 to 105,000. I guess that's if you go on the low tier when it comes to influence. So what you finna find out is how many mugs is on the party. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You finna say a lot of them. When you see it, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, okay, that's what he was talking about. You're gonna see it, right? So they talked about how the fact that the globalization and that it's about the democracy, the globalization. Anybody who cares about the Constitution and American democracy, American democracy. How precious American democracy. That's the other one, American democracy. They said, now when they did to that other little woman that was in there, she was talking about how in Iowa, which they said in the last campaign it was deep blue, but now becoming red. Now I want you to hear what she said, or she said more like a purple, right? Back when Barack Obama won in Iowa, back then it was deep blue, but now it's done turned kind of red and purple, she said, right? Then they brought up Reverend Al Sharpton, the good Rev. Look, all these cliches, These the cats that have been in their pillars for a long time, been pushing that, right? And so goes on talking about how they can energize is the most thing, and then they talk about how of the Democratic Party getting black voters to the poll. Now that's the first time you heard it. All this they got to do to get black voters to the polls, to save democracy again like they did in 2020. What did you get? It's funny how you do everything to help everybody else, and you know this part here is the foundation to which but when it comes to, it can't help you though, right? Right? Okay. Talk about how in Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Barack had won all those when he was running. You know, yeah, anybody seen that movie called Swing? What I think was it called Swing State with Kevin Costner? Remember that? I don't know if you remember that movie. What that was about? That was about voting, and Kevin Costner was going to be an elector. They had to come to him, petition for him because he was the deciding vote. He was the deciding vote. Now the thing is, with this elector business, that's how they started the campaign out when Biden went to South Carolina. Because you remember the whole thing they want to do is, and maybe I'll do that later. Because they really using the innuendos and the kind of little fear in there because they want to keep in your mind about this.
It's up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Okay? That going back to what? That January 6th day, right? Now, some of the things that was being said, right? Now, you know how that whole thing came about them, how they set that whole procedure of the thing that they said they was not going to allow him to be part of the primary was based on about the case that was brought to Colorado. And I think it was the Colorado electors, if I'm not mistaken, and that they went to the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado. And they was trying to see would he appear on the Colorado Republican presidential primary ballot. Remember, Trump was disqualified under, they said, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that prohibits anybody who engaged in insurrection against the United States Constitution holding office. The district court found that Trump had engaged on January 6, 2021. The conduct of the 14th Amendment did not apply, they said, to the president. Said the 14th Amendment does not apply to the president. Now, the reason why I'm giving this for those who don't know the background, you know, that's what we do with report, right? So the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado, the election code allowed electors to challenge Trump's status. This is how that whole thing came about. And so there was qualified candidates based on Section 3. Congress does not need to pass a legislation for Section 3. The disqualification provisions to apply. The provisions encompasses the office of the presidency. Okay, so the court did not in err in finding that Trump had engaged in insurrection. Okay, initially when they did that in Colorado, they said that there was no finding of that, right? And then the court concluded that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3. Then there was a wrongful act under the election code for the Secretary of State to list him as a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. Court stayed its ruling until January 4th, 2024, and it will remain that status into review into the Supreme Court. So, which is basically the process game. So we're going to tie it up some legal jargon or until they get that resolved. So it's a stay to prohibit Colorado from actually taking them off the ballot. That's why the way it's looking, they say we're going to just be tied up in the court, possibly right up until then. Who knows how this is going to fall? But that's what this is all about. And so they know they're going to have to get ready, because I think in Iowa, I'm not even sure what happened. So they're in preparation, right? So when you seen is here, you seen, did y'all see when he went to the AME church in South Carolina? That was the beginning, supposedly, of his primary. But I want y'all to hear something about this. Let me show you what happened there visually, and then I'm going to give you this backdrop story of what they said about that. Check this, I'll be right back.
Our challenge is doing the things that are necessary to make this country's greatness accessible and affordable for all our citizens. And it is with great pride that I present to you the man best qualified, the man totally committed to making every American a part of the American dream, Joe Biden. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
I rest my case. Thank you, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And it's going to go to my head. Please, thank you.
All right. So you seen him. That was that part where they started when they, again, you had the man, right? 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 Bringing in, announcing Joe Biden, and then he got in there, and you heard what you heard, right? And I'm going to give you some little bit insight, just in case maybe you didn't see up in there. Again, it's been a week since I've been on, right? It was last week I was on, right? So all this didn't happen within between last time and this time. So you had the Democrats who had, again, they say they concerned about Joe Biden, his status with black voters. Again, the whole thing of all this is predicated on the fact that black voters, because they showed this, I guess you say, kind of like the same thing with Charlemagne, the regrets of those who they say voted, who say they know they voted, what done happened, what done transpired over the last 3, almost 4 years. And so again, they say waning, but they also kind of say it's more of the young than it is anything else. So here it was, South Carolina, they had, again, they're going to use this as the proving ground for his campaign, because why go back when he, in 2020, they used that to say that there's a reason why he ended up winning, right? Okay. So they're going to use this as the ceremonial launch pad for his re-election. Now, again, think about that history there, AME. Isn't that what Dylan Roof had on the 9 that they got killed there? You know, the way I kind of looked at that a little bit, I looked at that you ever seen, might have been seen on Twitter or X lately, where they said those safarists killed a lion. It was a man and a woman, and he told her, he said, put your muscles up. Show, come on now, right? Like, you know, like that other one, I don't know if some of y'all seen me when I did tests, and you talking about how she ate the giraffe, and he was delicious, right? And conservate, talking about they conserving, right? But they chilling, right? But, you know, but that's what they do. So, but the thing is like going back to the scene of the crime, right? Again, we don't know behind the scene agendas on everything. Everything that is being presented to us is being presented to us, but we don't know until it's thing for which as time go on. But what you've seen there is that is the place that took place. And if you kind of look at your screen there, look at the heads you see, right? You're seeing that in there. There's a reason for that. Check this out. So again, the whole thing here is the stomping ground to get it again. But you know, this was a test message, they say. This was used as a test message to a predominantly black electorate. So let me say that one more again. Who picked the president, y'all? Is it the people or is it the electorates? Let me say that one more again. Who picks the president? Okay, so this was a test message in front of predominantly, they say, black electorates. Use it as a largely ceremony launch pad for his re-election. The event had went on for several days. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was there offering reverential, policy-heavy re-election pitches. Policy-heavy. Black audiences and celebrated the black organizers, community leaders who helped deliver that last one. Again, went to the store, get a pack of cigarettes, coming back. Yeah, you know, I want to thank y'all for what you did. Huh? I want to thank you for, you know, all the work and stuff and that. You know, we will give praise and thank you, right? Okay. So what was being said in there kind of was the fact that they were drawing the contrast between Donald Trump and other Republican leaders who they said was election denialism. Again, they want to say again, so for those who know that there was the question about the election, right? That was what Donald Trump's whole premise was, that he got cheated, right? A lot of people, some people believe that, some people didn't believe that, right? So he was saying then the fact that they got to whitewash history, threaten the progress that Black Americans have spent generations fighting for. So this is what he was saying in there, right? Black voters have expressed their frustration by the administration for falling short on key campaign promises. What were those? Shown less enthusiasm for Mr. Biden's reelection in the polls and in interviews in South Carolina. Biden and Kamala Harris aim to highlight the lesser known victories about the administration over the notches they had over the last 3 years. Black voters' disaffection with Democrat campaign aides and allies, right? So there's a problem here. And like I said, you can't benign neglect a group of people and then you know you need them, and then when you're going to come back, and then again, listen to some of the language that's being stated, y'all. Election of a lifetime. End of democracy as we know it. You see what I'm saying? Planting. So check that out. Now, look what also happened, and I want to show you something that happened today, but this is what happened that day here, and look at this event. Now, remember, this really isn't like a public event. This is really like reservations only, maybe. And particular, this is like the people who would be electing him. Again, a lot of times we took the Constitution when we were 13 years old, 14, 12, 13, 14 in 8th grade. And if you don't do political science after that, you just politically a 13, 14-year-old knowledge of what you learned, unless you done updated and you still into politics and watching that stuff, you may not be that astute in it. So now what you have is that you're relying on that. And so people make decisions and just follow them because the tradition is just what we do. So you thought that population, matter of fact, I think that's why Hillary Clinton ended up getting Secretary of State, because she was going to try to blow the whistle about that, right? Because she, again, man, because she didn't win. She said she had more, matter of fact, they even said it with Donald Trump, she had more popular vote, but it ain't about popular vote. It's the Electoral College, correct? So what is all this campaigning going to be about, y'all? I hope you catch what I'm saying, right? So check this out. I'll be right back.
Truth. There's no light. Without light, there's no path from this darkness.
If you really care about the lives lost here, then you should honor the lives lost and call for a ceasefire in Palestine. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Thank you. Look, folks, I understand their passion, and I've been quietly working with the Israeli government to get them to reduce and significantly get out of Gaza, and using all that I can to do that. But I understand the passion. Look, folks, after the civil... Thank you.
They don't realize that. You're a good man.
Well, thank you. Look, after the Civil War, the defeated Confederates couldn't accept the verdict of the war. They had lost. So they say they embraced what's known as the lost cause, a self-serving lie that the Civil War is not about slavery, but about states' rights. They've called that the noble cause. That was a lie that had not just a lie, but it had terrible consequences. It brought on Jim Crow. So let me be clear, for those who don't seem to know, slavery was the cause of the Civil War. There's no negotiation about that. Now we're living in an era of a second lost cause. Once again, there's some in this country trying to turn a loss into a lie which, if allowed to live, will once again bring terrible damage to this country. This time, the lie is about the 2020 election. The election which you made, your voices heard, and your power known. Just 2 days ago, we marked the third anniversary of one of the darkest days in American history, January the 6th, the day in which insurrectionists stormed the United States Capitol, trying for the first time in American history to stop the peaceful transfer of power in the country. Truth. There's no light.
All right, so we back, right? So as you seen in there, there was a scene that happened up in there, right? But I kind of gave you a backdrop. The backdrop is it in a controlled environment? Was it controlled? So what we see was it, again, early in the show, talked about some scriptedness. Was some script in here, right? Because it's a controlled, it's in front of black electorates. And then they came in there and then they talk about the ceasefire. Now, again, we're not anti about what's done happen in Palestine and the issue that's going over there in Israel and the Gaza or the Levant. We ain't anti about that. We got our issue here, right here. We as black Americans attached to this digit, Nikki Moore's, well, I'm gonna say take the moral part out, but American Indians, all that other good stuff that a lot of us that we call again, they could be black Americans. So, but here you in a historical place based on some history there, and you were able to get in. But I've heard somebody who knew somebody who went in there, and they said that nobody could just go in there. And the way that you could only get in there, reservation only, and certain people still weren't able to get in there. So I had to say, well, what is that about? What's that part about? It's not that that's not a real issue, but why is that there? Right? Because I seen something earlier today, being what it is Martin Luther King holiday. Let me show y'all something what I seen. Man, I'm sure as I'm talking, I'm sure as I'm talking about it, right? You see this here? So Martin Luther King Day. And they doing what they doing for the initiative of their cause. We get it. But that's our land. That's our home. You know, throwing a rock outside trying to hit from where you at ain't gonna help. Don't you need to get up to where you need to go? All right, let me say again, I'm not anti. I'm just saying, a lot of people take advantage of the situation here and you forget about whose land this is. And the people of like how in that homeland, who is the Palestinian West? Who's that? So when y'all infringing and doing things, and again, when you talk about migration, again, we're not anti-migration, but when you've been in the game as long as we have, generation on generation, we know the game. It's osmosis to us, right? It's generation passed down in our DNA, Akashic records, as they say. And so when other people come here, do y'all not even understand that the fact that you be infringing upon another group of people or helping to bury this group? Or that doesn't matter to y'all? We understand y'all situation, but everybody keep forgetting the original of this land and whatever the originality of that history they talk about in this land. Matter of fact, it's so crazy about that. Again, as you heard, like Joe Biden was talking about in the AME church, he talks about what? How the Confederates lost. But he's using that as an analogy to introduce, because he want to really talk about, because there's people who saying that Donald Trump is really going to come in to destroy democracy for what we once known. Now, I don't know that man's where his head is and what he's trying to do. Can somebody have done some things to you that's unbeknownst to other people and you really know the real truth? And then if you get a chance to get back in the seat and try to get some things resolved and put the real truth of what really happened, everybody who's on the other side have been against that or help doing that. When you do everything you can to stop that shit from happening, or do I need to say that again? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So we understand the boogeyman. We understand when people saying, hey, these mugs here with the mega, we get all that. But there's a lot of things that done took place, a lot of things that transpired, and there's a lot of injustices and things, right? Matter of fact, you remember the thumbnail I did on the show before about, again, who that nigga on that nag, and then who was in the background, and what about that whole history and that thing back there? What was that all about? And wasn't somebody saying they won't get to the bottom of that? So there's a lot here, and that's why maybe there's going to be this big flux. Because remember, who I show you is one of the big campaigns, and that means they're going to get that whole industry. And a lot of those who know a lot about that industry know there's a lot of things that have been going on. And then, matter of fact, one person said there's a fake list, that the list that's out there ain't even real. It's a fake list. They said it would never produce the real list, right? So there's some things going on, and I'm pretty sure that somebody who was really going to go after that, you don't want them coming in because a lot of people are going to be exposed, right? So we see that going back with Joe there, but again, like I said, that Palestinian thing there, you infringing upon Black America's history. Yes, you got a cause, but this day here, the day to commemorate was a Black American fighting for Black American justice, just like Ann Coulter said, commandeering the Black Civil Rights Movement. Many of you from other lands have come to commandeer what Black Americans have laid down and never been able to get the benefits of it. And y'all really don't give 2 cents. Matter of fact, you would prefer for us to forget it. And yet we see the handwriting on the wall. Whether you are a complicit actors in it or not, we see it. And it's only right for us to try to protect ourselves in that situation. And if that means that somebody who would not be popular by you may be popular by other people because maybe it helps to relieve a situation or not. That don't mean that we anti, just, hey, self-preservation is number one, is it not? So you see that Joe Biden was talking about the lost cause. Matter of fact, this is how some people, again, let me show you this, what was being said. Listen to this individual here. He's cut from that cloth. And when you part of that circle, when you part of them folks, to be accepted and patted on the head, you have to make time say some shit like this.
And interestingly enough, you look back to the beginnings of this country and our founders, a lot of people are trying to denigrate them now, saying that they were horrible people, maybe because some of them had slaves, and that America is a horrible place because we had slavery. People who say stuff like that obviously don't have a good grasp on world history, because every society has had to deal with slavery. And there are more slaves in the world today than there have ever been at any point in time. You look at human trafficking and sexual slavery, and we ought to be concerned about what's going on now, not what happened 200 years ago. And if there's anything unique about the United States, If there's anything unique about the United States and slavery, it's that we had so many people who were vehemently opposed to it that we fought a bloody civil war to get rid of the evil institution. And that's what we should teach our children. Our history is nothing to be ashamed of. There's good, there's bad, and there's ugly, as there is in every society inhabited by human beings, which is why we need a savior. And interestingly enough,
So that was Ben Carson, right? Again, campaigning for Donald Trump in front of that audience, saying the things that he said. Now, again, I say, can you go in front of Jewish folks and tell them about the Holocaust and tell them, forget about that. We need to move forward. You know, it's easy to tell black people about what done happened to them to get over it, but I bet you can't tell the Japanese that. I bet you can't tell nobody who historically have gone through some atrocity that don't hold. It's like saying, telling the nation to forget about 9/11. Will this nation ever stop commemorating 9/11? We on 56 years right now on Martin Luther King. And if you don't make no amends to nothing, what you talking about? And then, you know, to say that, okay, you fought to end. Again, Joe Biden said it too, right? That we had people who were so opposed about slavery. Now, again, slavery the people or slavery the institution, right? So if that be the case, if it's just the institution, what happened to the people after the fact, right? And I got another twist about that whole thing about slavery, but that'll be another topic for another time, that the possibility of something else that might have had took place. But the point is, why would you feel the need to get in front of these folks to say that, and they clapping because of what you do? You, again, about forgiving, right? You want us to forgive you for what had been done. We know you per se didn't do it directly. It's your ancestors, but a system that has perpetually continued to go on generation upon generation and nobody's done no cure. What makes you think that the people ain't affected by that? And there's been so much legislation and things made and done to keep them from progressing. Yes, you can get a Michael Jordan, an Oprah, and a Ben Carson. Yes, of course. But overall, when now we have institutions set up in the way it's dynamic, so that a lot of them are just trapped in that. What do you think capitalism is? What do you think the ghetto is? Matter of fact, in the early part of the show, do you know the name of that video was called Ghetto? I was like, damn, don't y'all know that shit is not, you ain't supposed to be saying that. They did it any damn way, right? So, telling us getting over some stuff. I mean, it's very funny, but people really clap for us and say, and then want to make the comparison and say about around the world. Now, let me say this. You know, when you want to tell black people about historically around the world slavery, we still in the same place that the history been. Do I need to say that shit again? We still the people of the story, not historically how some of y'all not part of that. We still in the place that it happened. We the generations of that. So how you gonna keep telling us something? Because it makes you feel guilty. Makes you feel guilty. What you feel guilty for? What you guilty for? If it's just a figure of my imagination and they don't have nothing. Well, you want the point. Some people even bold enough to say, well, you were not enslaved. Again, if I had a boulder on top of the damn mountain and try to use a remote control to stop that boulder before it got to the bottom to crush that town, would the boulder stop? Or the momentum and force of that boulder going to keep rolling, and even after it get down there, the momentum the force still has to go all the way through. So when you say you stop slavery, but did the momentum stop? Did it keep persisting and moving on? So everybody love to say Civil War ended the war. Well, what about after the fact? You say, well, after that, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, had to go through civil rights. And here we is today celebrating the memory of a man who was fighting against it. And that's 56 years ago. What y'all talking about here now? What y'all talking about? A lot of people, man. A lot of you. I'm not saying none of y'all in here. But just think about that. You talk about 56 years today, a man that got assassinated for trying to fight some of that stuff that a lot of people that come here benefit from. And you walk over us like we have got like some, you know what I'm saying? Like walking over a mat on the front door and want to keep doing it and just like, you say that you all right, you can take it. And then doing all these other things that are affecting unbeknownst, and everybody want to tell us, you all right. I've seen a kid fall and they fall on their knee and they scrape their knee up. What do you go tell them? Oh, you all right, go there, let me kiss on it. That don't change the damn pain. You're trying to psychologically get them to think, oh, it's all right, don't cry. You ain't the one hurt. You ain't the one that got scraped and fell on the deck, but you're going to tell me this. Get over that. I'll tell you, boy. I know, man. I know, right? But I want to show y'all something, right? Matter of fact, this is how far they going out to do this. Now, again, I'm not advocating for need or other. I'm just showing you something. I know y'all didn't see this because it just came out as I came on. Look at this.
In the press for years and years and years, due in large part to that infamous ad that Donald Trump took out in the major New York newspapers calling for the death sentence to be reinstated after your arrest. Yeah. To this day, he's never apologized. In fact, he's even doubled down in recent years. What was it like for you to watch this man who spent years demonizing you be elevated to the highest office in the land?
I can't even describe in words what it was like. The worst, I mean, I was awakened to the American nightmare when I was 15. We became the poster children of deviance. Yeah. They looked at us and judged us by it. And I think when you really understand what Donald Trump's ad is, it's not an ad that was just ran in New York City's newspapers. No. You have to remember that they also published our names, phone numbers, and addresses in New York City's newspapers.
Yeah.
So what this ad really was, and still is, it was a whisper into the most sadistic, darkest enclaves of society. Yes. To do to us what they had done to Emmett Till. That's what that ad was.
Councilman, you then did something kind of beautiful many years later. So after Trump's first indictment last year, you drew inspiration from that very ad, and you wrote your own, and you said in it, in part, even though 34 years ago, you, Donald Trump, effectively called for my death, the death of 4 innocent children, I wish you no harm. I hope that you exercise your civil liberties to the fullest, that you get what the exonerated 5 did not, a presumption of innocence and a fair trial. Where the hell did that kind of grace come from?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, God. So I had to learn that while I was going through what I was going through, I could either go through it or I could grow through it. If I had just gone through it, I would be enraged. I would be angry. I would be upset. We sued for $50 million each.
Yeah.
They gave us $41 million total. And our attorneys, of course, they took the third off the top. So it's not like we got anywhere near what we sued for. So as I was growing through what I was going through, I realized something really important. You have to forgive those who harmed you. Because if you move through life without forgiveness, you carry all of the weight of the ball and chain into every single room with you. People will see that. They will say, oh my goodness, I can't deal with this person. They're too angry or too upset. Forgiveness is for myself.
Yeah, right.
You know, the beauty is that it allows for me to surgically remove myself from all of that harm. Because what really got me about it was understanding and knowing that Donald Trump doesn't think about me. Donald Trump goes and eats the best food, lives in
eats
the
McDonald's.
Well,
Clear that up.
but he could. But he has a choice.
No shade, but
he has a choice, right? In Harlem, in the impoverished neighborhoods, people are choosing whether they can afford rent or feed their families. And so these are things that we are really wrestling with. And when I think about a person like Donald Trump or Donald Trump himself, I have to completely come to the realization that I have to move forward.
Yeah.
I have to take this lemon that life gave me and make lemonade, and I'm gonna look cool doing it, and I'm gonna be juggling the lemons. I'm gonna say, you could juggle your lemons too, because guess what? We all have a cross to bear.
Yeah.
And I can't carry anyone's cross, but I can encourage, I can show.
So go ahead and forgive, but do not forget.
Do not forget.
Thanks to New York City Councilman.
All right, so we back, right? And that was Yusef Salam. That was part of the Central Five joggers that The View brought out to air about over again. We don't want to put a time frame on it, right? When you've been done wrong, I guess it's the person who's the victim of it has the right to speak about it, right? Seems a little odd. Again, they're coming up at this particular time because, again, he has a history that's tied to whom, right? He's entitled to say what he's saying. We respect that, right? Again, like he said forgiveness, but I think this is kind of working in a connotative way. I think just like Ben Carson was sitting there saying that, he was campaigning for Trump and saying that basically black people need to forget about what done happened. Let's move forward. Historically around the world, slavery has happened everywhere. And we got a lot of things that are happening right now with the trafficking and so forth. But that's their history. We have our history. Yusef Salam has his history. But why, when it comes to this group, nobody wants to deal with that? Everybody want to act as if like, well, let's get past that part. How can you get past something that has been affected generation upon generation upon generation? Now, it's not that every person who was cut from that, but there is a big portion of people who are byproducts of, again, really, you might say it was state sanctioned or government sanctioned, right? So it's kind of like saying there's some things that sit on the law. It's like some people believe, like they say, the Civil War and how long that's been, and said people got together to galvanize to destroy what they believe was slavery. But then there was a lot of other, let's say, innuendos and ways of still keeping the people held and severed and bond and prohibit their progression, right? So that was Yusef Salam of the five. And again, under that circumstance of what then took place that was tragic, 5 young men who were accused of, I can't remember the victim name that happened. It did happen to her, but they were exonerated. And it was the history of where Donald Trump went out and put the ad on because of what was being told to him. As the Netflix, I think, put out the series about it, and we got some of the insight to it. looked like the I don't know if it was a district attorney that was trying to hold and make that to be, even though they knew they didn't do it, but because of pressure and they need to get something resolved. And so based on that information, he did what he did. He said he don't want to take it back because he believed what he bought. Yeah, you were wrong. And that's the problem. Sometimes people don't want to admit when they're wrong, or again, an apology seems to be the hardest thing to get to. So they're using this right now for the situation they need it for. Because why? This big campaign, what they talking about for the season, right? And as you see on there, it is that thumbnail. That's what that is. That's surrogate. He might be using as a surrogate. Like again, you're going to see so much of this. You're gonna be like, I know what he's talking about now. I see it now. A lot of shows like myself, we're gonna be very suppressed. You're not gonna see a lot from us. They're gonna take over. They're gonna be having hundreds of thousands, 200,000, 500,000, millions. And I wouldn't be surprised. I remember when I said this, when I talked about that 2 weeks ago. Remember, I told you somebody kind of said Oprah was gonna be on his show. Well, let's see if that be true or not, right? So that was Yusuf Sallam, right? Now, as I get ready to close up. Now, again, as I said, old stuff being on the books when it comes to law, does it ever go away? Can somebody psychologically believe something don't exist and yet it's still there, but it's like break the glass case of emergency? We use it when we need it. Well, let me show you something here. First, I'm going to show you that, again, there was a conversation that was had between these two. We're going to look at what they said, and then let's kind of look at that and see the truth of it as I already close out for the night. Listen to this, be right back.
Hey, I'm looking at my license. It doesn't have color on it, though. It doesn't.
Because your face is the color now. What year did you get your license? I don't know. Different states have different stuff. Year? We don't even got to go into the license. When you go fill out a test when you're in school and they ask you this, that, and third, this, that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. And I know we got to get back to our topics. We already a few minutes in. I'd rather fill in black than African American. Because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Well, you're American, Mace. You're born in America. When you go to the Olympics, and when I say African American, you go over there, they call us Yankees and all that. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a black American. When we go to the Olympics as a country, and somebody black is fighting from the United States, you don't say African American. You say American. You don't even put a color on it. It's an American fighter fighting a European fighter, or China or Japanese or anything. You're known in the Olympics as an American. It doesn't matter what color you are. You're an American fighting against somebody from Cameroon or Senegal, whatever. The point being is they don't categorize it when it's world competition. But when it's other shit, it needs to be categorized. So I consider myself a black American. I don't consider myself African American. And shout out to all my niggas in Africa. Much love. But y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all don't.
It's right.
Hey,
I'm looking at my...
Back, right? So that was Cameron there, and then the show that they have on there. Right, with Mace, right? And it came up on the topic about color and so forth, right? So you kind of heard what they said. And I seen over the week that people were talking about that, and there was discussions as whether or not that what he's saying has merit, or is it just a perception that some agree or some disagree. To each his own. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own experiences in life, different encounters with different situations. What's good for this goose may be different for this one over here. But in overall, let's look at that, because They talk about delineation. You might be hearing that word a little bit sometimes, right? Where a particular group of people are trying to be self-identified because of the infringing, as I was talking about earlier, that other people get to use, they get the benefit, while another people who is directly designed for don't benefit. And so the only way it seems that in the eyes of these people is to make a demarcation for themselves so that they are identified for their own contributions, history, identity, and so forth. So doesn't matter if you just make us one big African, right? Does that help? If we just one big African, would that help? That probably won't help us at all, right? So based on being here, he's talking about an American, and when you use an Olympics and how everybody is identified for the country from which they come and they identify, but then when you hear people who, again, he said Mason is an American by being born here. That's not quite it, right? See, because you can have people, again, like they say, anchor babies and people who parents know they from other places and they're being born here. Technically, is that an American? Or you talking about American as when it comes to the corporation, right? Because when you go back and you look at the definition of American going back, I should have put it up in here. You'll see that American was copper-colored racist people, right? The copper-colored people. Now, the Native American people that you see over there, they're not copper-colored. You know they're not copper-colored, right? So that means that somebody that is copper-colored that is missing that should be here is not being accounted for. Keep that a check in mind. Now, so it's about lineage of people of generation that's being here that identify you as being, again, indigenous, aboriginals, right? Autochthonous. Some say Niji, some say Black Americans, but not African Americans that you heard. Cameron said he don't identify with that. But does that make you divisive or do you make me hate somebody? No, you don't hate. You understand there's a difference. Now, he say because they don't fuck with us. Nah, I think it's more about self-identity and having our own claim to our own shit. Because let me show you, is there a difference? And if it makes a difference, because again, I'm going to go back and show you that things that have been set in history ain't never changed. You changed psychologically, but it ain't never changed. Now, you ever heard of Mike Huckabee? You know what Mike Huckabee said about, no, I won't go, no, hold on, how about, no, let me do this first. Let me show you that it's a difference when you start want to identify and you're not the people. See, people think here that we be here divisive and that we're being troublemakers. Did you know that Denzel Washington played the character of Hannibal Baraka, right? Let me show you. Hold on. Look at this, right? Right? So you see that Denzel Washington is Hannibal Barker. Netflix faces backlash for miscasting. Okay, let me say that one more again. Denzel Washington as Hannibal Barker. Netflix faces backlash for miscasting. Now, what they mean by miscasting? What they mean by that? He can't play that role? Why he can't play that role? What's wrong with him playing that role? We want to find out why is something wrong with Denzel playing that role. Now let me tell you what they said up in this article real quick. Now this is them what they say, right? Now they're talking about Denzel Washington casting as a legendary ancient general Hannibal Barker for the Netflix project. He was receiving extreme backlash, outrage from the Tunisians. Now, okay, keep that. Tunisia accused it as an act of miscasting and falsifying history. Now, I want you to keep in mind, check mark, Tunisia. Right? Tunisia. Okay? Now, again, Netflix endorsed this film and released it. and it's the Carthaginian general. Again, everybody know about him crossing the Alps to fight the Roman Republic during what they call the Second Punic Wars. They claim that, according to this article, what they talk about said Hannibal home region was in Carthage, which is now a part of Tunisia, the northernmost state in Africa, and is considered a part of, they say, of the Arabic world. Okay, so they say this is a miscasting of Hannibal. The casting, now listen what they say. The casting of a black actor to play the legendary role of Hannibal is, to say, problematic. Why? Was not Hannibal black? No, he wasn't black. They say no, he wasn't black. Okay. Say to consider Hannibal as a black African, the Tunisians and many other observers of historical say this is an error. They say Carthage, built by the Phoenicians, what they say in the current Tunisia. They say it's about 200 kilometers southwest of Sicily. Okay, so they try to make some reference to trying to, dig into the back and say some stuff. But there was an author of history named Mary Lethowitz. She was pointing out that Hannibal came from a family of Phoenician Semitic settlers. Semitic, right? Said this was a common region where they resided, and claiming that the representation of Hannibal in a Carthaginian plays depict him as a white Semite man. Okay. So they made him a white Semitic man. Could that be wrong in history? That a white Semitic, is that true? Can that be? But he can't be black in Africa in Tunisia. Is Tunisia not on the continent that we call Africa? Or is there a history to that? Because let me tell you something. People be in here fighting us about whether we say we want to identify as African. But if you done did some history and did some Tunisia, when the Roman province back in 146, when they came there and colonized a city there, that was the place they called Africa. That was the beginning of it. Now, there's also the story they talk about Africa Ciprianus, right? They'll say that too, right? Maybe that was what he did, but I'm saying, but Tunisia, there was a city that began the beginning of what they call Africa. What they didn't call it was Akabulan and whatever other names, Ethiopia. There was no Africa, but there was this city in Tunisia called Africa. And so what ended up happening, that Africa from there ended up spreading all over, part of what imperialism or colonization, right? So really, when you say African, you really branded somebody. See, Africans are not Africans until they come over here. Ask yourself, who decided to put all the names on the damn continents? Who was the one who had the what they call those the hover over the sky, be able to get the picture? Oh, that's Africa. We're gonna put that as Africa, Asia. That one over there gonna be in the Americas. Who did that? Or is that modern? You get what I'm saying? Who put their flag on the planet? So those names are pertaining to really imperialism and colonization of somebody putting their brand on your ass. And so we don't want to be branded. So you say we don't want to be African. Right? And let me give you some American history. But before I do that, let me show you a coin they showed of Hannibal. Is that a white man? Is that a white man? And this ain't no hate to nobody. Just, is that a white man? You see? Now, those people in Tunisia who might be more modern may not, again, and I ask this, I'm asking this for anybody who might want to answer. People who are other admixtures to make their group of people. You're not the original brand of that, right? It's an amalgamation of you to make you, right? Why is it that when it starts to talk about origin of the beginning, the only thing that look like people will give is Lucy the monkey. or the whatever they want to call that over there, right? They'll give you that. But it's like these other people saying they're original peoples. Is that true? Then the beginning story of 1 and 1 makes 2 can't be true. Then it must different creations all over. So which it depends on what story people believing in. Depending on what story you believing in. But according to that depiction there, that don't look like a white Semitic man. That look like somebody who got some hairstyle like some brothers and sisters wearing today. Why is that the hardest thing for people to accept? Like black folks are never great. We can only be seen in the light that the way that these rewritten, whitewashed histories. It's just like taking the picture of what's his name? What's that Borgia? What's his name? The one that they made the depiction of the white painted Jesus. And yet in that scripture, you just read it and it'll say bronze wool hair. Yet you see the picture, and yet you say, no, that's what that is. Well, what how the book saying this and that looking like that? Who's sick here? Somebody's sick, right? So now let me show you that in this country here, why demarcating, why labeling ourselves African based on what they said. That's why we don't take that. Not because we hate or something against African. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In this land, this is what Mike Huckabee said. Mike Huckabee said, Dred Scott Steele Law of Land. What? Dred Scott Steele Law of Land. Really? Dred Scott Steele Law of Land? Dred Scott Steele Law of Land. Now let me now. This here, we're gonna end out on this. Let me show you for those who ain't never seen it with your own eyes. Everybody talk, tell, give you the history. I'm gonna let you see with your own eyes, let you read it for your own self. That way you can't say you don't know. Now, let me put on the screen for you. Let me show you. Now we're gonna start here, right? Look on your screen. Okay? A free Negro of the African race whose ancestors were brought to this country, sold as slaves, is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. Let me say that one more again. A free Negro of the African race whose ancestors were brought to this country and sold as slaves is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. When the Constitution was adopted, they were not regarded in any of the states as members of the community which constitutes the state and were not numbered among its people or citizens. Consequently, the special rights and immunities guaranteed to citizens do not apply to them, and not being citizen within the meaning of the Constitution, they are not entitled to sue in that character in a court of the United States, and that the circuit court has not jurisdiction in such suit. Next. You're going to see it with your own eyes. You're going to see it with your own eyes. I ain't made it up. The only two clauses in the Constitution which points to this race treats them as persons whom it was morally lawfully to deal in as articles of property and to hold as slaves. Let me say that one more again. The only two clauses in the Constitution which points to this race treats them as persons whom it was morally lawfully to deal in as articles of property and to hold as slaves. Since the adoption of the Constitution of the United States, no state can be any subsequent law makes a foreigner or any other description of person citizen of, here we go. Come on, let's go with it. Of the United States, nor entitle them to the rights and privileges secured to citizens by that instrument.
This the Supreme Court. This the Supreme Court. A state by its law passes since the adoption of the Constitution may be put a foreigner or any other description of person upon a footing with its own citizen as to all the rights and privileges enjoyed by them within its dominion and by its law. Huh? So y'all come here, and technically you can't come here and be a citizen based on what they saying. This is the Supreme Court. This was the first case ever dealing with this. Okay? But you believe something changed. Well, hold on. We almost done. We were at 2:30. Okay, we are right at the 3. We are right at the 3-hour mark. Okay, we give somebody one more chance if you want to go ahead. We the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Okay? So a state by its law passed since the adoption of the Constitution may put a foreigner or any other description of person upon footing with its own citizen as to the rights and privilege enjoyed by them within the dominion and by its law. But that will not make him a citizen of the United States, nor entitle him to sue in the courts, nor to any or the privileges and immunities of a citizen in another state. Okay, let's move to the next one. I checked out my underline a little something for you. I'll take that down for me, sir. Take that down. That's just in case somebody decided they wanted to help out, because we are the most hated show. Been in the business for 12 years. You know they ain't let me make no money over here. Because why? May not even get what the hell I'm doing. But don't matter. The change in public opinion and feeling in the relations to the African race, which has taken place since the adoption of the Constitution, cannot change its constitution and meaning. And it must be construed and administered now according to its true meaning and intention when it was formed and adopted. Is that clear? The plaintiff having admitted, now check this out, the plaintiff having admitted by his demurrer to the plea and abatement that his ancestors were imported from Africa and sold as slaves, he is not a citizen of the state of Missouri according to the Constitution of the United States and was not entitled to sue in the character in the circuit court. You know, they're going to say, we fixed that. That was back then. Right? Ask yourself, why I want you to be African American so goddamn bad? What's the trick in it? What's the trick? But if the plea and abatement is not brought to by the writ of the error, I think we got it right. Okay. The objection to the citizenship of the plaintiff is still apparent on the record, and he himself, in making out his call or his case, states that he is of African descent, was born a slave, and claimed that he and his family became entitled to freedom by being taken by his owner to reside in the territory where slavery is prohibited by act of Congress, and that in addition to this claim, he himself became entitled to freedom by being taken to Rock Island in the state of Illinois and being free when he was brought back to Missouri. He was by the laws of that state a citizen. Okay, let me go ahead. We almost done. I want you to see this. I want y'all to see this. I want you to understand why some people have problems. Okay, but saying the African, right? If therefore the facts he state do not give him or his family a right to freedom, the plaintiff is still a slave and not entitled to sue as a citizen. And the judgment of the circuit court was erroneous on that the grounds also without any reference to the plea and abatement. Circuit court can give no judgment for plaintiff or defendant in the case where it has no jurisdiction, no matter whether they be a plea in the abatement or not, unless it appears upon the face of the record when brought here by the writ of error, the circuit court of had jurisdiction, the judgment must be reversed. Okay, one more, right? And he is a Negro of African descent. His ancestry were of pure African blood and were brought into this country and said as Negro slave. And this, the said Stanford is ready to verify, wherefore he prays judgment whether this court can or will take further
cognizance of the action aforesaid. Now, again, Dred Scott went to fight for his freedom. Thought because he was in the state of Missouri, which will go in Illinois, Rockford, Illinois, where he brought his case, petition to the court. There's a lot of this stuff here ain't even dawned on people's mind about what I'm saying, but I'm going to do a show based on this. And so he fought in court, and they said originally they had granted him that he was free. So what does that tell you? Black folks being in this land, people of color, everybody was not African. Everybody was not African. The court seen him clear as day. I wish I showed you the picture of Dred Scott. Dark skin, woolly hair, and the court said he was free. But when he went into the abatement and gave his plea and asked him his background, and he said, my parents were brought here as slaves, and I was born a slave. They said, oh, so you're an African. So if you're an African, you can't be a citizen here. So everybody trying to always rush and throw Black Americans. So you see why I say Black American. Oh, there ain't no land called no black. Ain't no real land called no Africa either, but you call this shit that, right? Africa. Because why? That's the same thing they holding on to why we don't get shit. Get it? You don't get shit because y'all Africans. And you keep selling that and buying that. I don't know why everybody keeps saying, again, if you know that your family directly is from Africa, you done found Africans in your family, yes, you like Dred Scott. You may not be full blood, but you African blood. But as the court showed you, how did they let him go if he was a full black-skinned, woolly-haired man, but it didn't come until once he said where he came from. Once he admitted to the fact that his background, that his mama and daddy was from Africa. So remember when Cameron said, you born in America, it makes you American, right? But in this case, as being lineage of Black Americans, you have lineage, you got generations. You ain't just born here yesterday, 20 years ago. You got generations. And yes, people doing genealogy and they find their stuff and so forth. And when you find that in there, then yes, you know that you are. But I'm just saying, in that day, did they not know that there were people who were black that were not? Matter of fact, I even did in this show where I showed you when Lincoln went in court, fought for a man and used the analogy of a Moor. He was a Moor. He went African, but he was a Moor. So were we already here? That's the whole thing. Was we already here? Some of us was already here. Some of us come from lineage, we were already here. So wouldn't it be, if you go look at Aboriginal title, Aboriginal claim, and again, you got, I already showed you, but a Native American, and that whole thing when you go do the DNA test and it's not predicated on blood, it's about who was there when they set up that whole, let's say, the treaty and so forth. If your family was part of that, then that's just a club that you get in because your family, you was nepotism. Ain't got nothing to do with what is. So that means there's somebody secretly who's here that ain't being accounted for. Or they say, India's not taxed. But in this case, getting taxed. So you have to ask yourself, why do they go all, let's go back, show that. So why do they go all out to get you to commit is the question. Your commitment keeps something going. You just ain't figured it out yet. I'm the most hated show in the Black Corner of YouTube. I want to thank each and every one of y'all who stopped by tonight. I didn't get no comments or nothing tonight. That's okay. Again, normally we used to come on Sundays. We've been more like on Mondays. Mondays seem to be a little good as a week to week. If you ain't doing nothing, ain't got nothing to do, come on by, check us out, hit that like button again. We appreciate if you like to even throw something, because that's what we do. Again, been doing this for 12 years. You never heard of me. And if you ain't subscribed to me, you won't find me again, because you'll put my name in there and they're going to show you some Matty Crumb, or they're going to ask you, are you sure you won't go? They're going to ask you, are you sure you won't go over there? And then, you know what I'm saying? You may not never get there. So your best bet is subscribe. Maybe they'll leave you in there. Maybe you don't. And I want to thank those that might be seeing the new subscribers who just came in the last couple of days. I want to say what's good to y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all got me. I've been 20, 80, 90, and 28, 91. Ain't that something? Anyway, so I want to thank each and every one of y'all again. I'm the most hated show. I got a comment in here. Who that in here? B Mac in the house. What's good, B? I ain't seen you, boy. I thought you left me, man. Where you been there? Good to see you, brother, on this MLK holiday. To your family, from mine to yours, was good and love to you. They took your comment down. I've been wondering what's going on. They got my likes suppressed. The last several videos, I don't think I can get past 12 to 15 likes. They are really grinding my ass down, but I'm gonna fight the fine fight. So I appreciate with you and what's up to you. I'm hanging in there, man. 2024 gonna be for a lot of us, it's gonna be a trying year. As this thing comes to its fruition and all the other plans that's happening, well, again, I'm gonna watch on the wall, and whatever I see, I will come back and bring on the We Up report as my interpretation of it. But again, I appreciate all of y'all that come. At least just listen to a brother. Again, it's just my rendition of what I'm saying, and this is my channel. This is what we do. We try to do grown folks things. We ain't into the back and forth. I don't do none of that. I ain't got time for that. Sometimes, as grown folks, we just got to have grown folks conversation. There's time and place for all the other stuff. And there's some things that's just of seriousness, or at least developing, that we need to be paying attention to. And I think as our people, we need to have channels that focus on stuff like that. Not those people who part of them inner circles, not the people like you see on your screen that's part of that. You have to be some of the grassroots, some of the mugs, because think about it. We never know none of them. I'm only going to speak for me. We don't know some of the motherfuckers that be running the positions. We be knowing they be saying they done came from the place that we come from, but do you actually know them? That's another thing. Just like they were saying, the thing with the AME church, it was already black electors and people that was in there that's going to be partnering in the voting. But the way it looked like voters was in there, but it was more staged and the atmosphere was controlled. So we just have to be, again, mindful of the things. And when we have people like myself and others who do this, your support is needed to keep it going, because we on the list. I've been on the list. You can see the way that they got me suppressed. That is. So you get notified that you're online. Oh, I get notified that you're on. Okay, you get notified that you're on. Okay. So yeah, that's another thing too. Some people, let me tell you what they did, B Mac. Let me show you this YouTube trick. Like, again, I've been around longer, so even though I don't have the numbers, like people are getting 5,000, 10,000, 100, they get the numbers. I just been doing it longer than them and being suppressed, so I understand when everybody talking about shadow ban. I had been talking about that years before they got to that. So, let me tell you what I think happened. I ain't gonna tell you what I'm thinking. I'm gonna tell you what I know. The little trick is when you subscribe, either you hit all notification, and if you don't hit all notification, if you're not online and I come online, they won't notify you because you didn't hit all notification. So just imagine if I've been around since 2012 and all the people who subscribed to me from 2012, and when they implemented this in 2000, either 17 or 18, everybody from 17 back, there was no all notification. So you took away my damn subscribers and you don't notify them. So I got this big number but that don't reach to go back to get none of them. So it keeps me right here. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the game, man. Like I said, I've been doing this so I can explain some things that most of these cats that I done seen when they came in. Yeah, they bigger than me, but there's a reason why where I'm at. And so I appreciate y'all, those who stay with some loyalty and still come by, say what's good to me. I appreciate y'all, man. And I want to thank each and every one of y'all. And again, I'm the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Until my next show, and again, peace, B-Mac. To my next show, y'all, and to the next show.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.